Chapter 732, Xianqi Primordial Immortal Realm Perfection. Regarding Yong Nian Daijin's probing, Guan didn't deny it. He continued gathering medicinal herbs, and Yong Nian Daojun wasn't in a hurry, following behind him, chatting about the recent affairs of Human World Peak. Although Guan never participated in Human World Peak's decisions, Yong Nian Daojun liked to tell him these things, not with any special purpose, but just to deepen their relationship and have something to talk about. After Guan finished gathering the medicinal herbs, he followed Yong Nian Daojun to his dojo. This lecture continued for 4 days. When Guan left, Yong Nian Daojun was still in the state of reincarnation projection. This guy didn't bother to guard against him at all, making Guan shake his head and chuckle. Giving a lecture to Yong Nian Daojun was just a small episode in Gu An's life, hardly making any impact, but through Yong Nian Daojun's opportunity, he could sense the development level of the primordial Tao Emperor. If there were no upheavals in the future, the primordial Tao Emperor would surely reach a level comparable to, or even surpassing the Taoist Emperor. The stronger the primordial Tao Emperor's fortune, the more benefits it would bring to Guan as well. If the primordial Tao Emperor's fortune were destroyed, it wouldn't harm him a bit. But if he died and the primordial Tao Emperor's fortune remained, he could come back to life through the primordial Tao Emperor's fortune. This was similar to the Heavenly Court's fortune. For Guan, the next major event was to break through to the perfect realm of Xianqi Primordial Immortal, and he was very much looking forward to it. Unknowingly, breaking through a minor realm has become as challenging as breaking through a major realm. Guan walked in the forest, thinking this way. His understanding of the primordial Tao fruit was getting deeper and deeper, feeling the profundity of the great Tao. Although the Xianqi Primordial Immortal still carried the name of an immortal, it had actually surpassed the essence of an immortal. Becoming an immortal was a process of comprehending the great Tao, while the Xianqi Primordial Immortal itself was equivalent to the great Tao. So far, apart from the one in the supreme origin forest and the mysterious bones buried in the desperate celestial tomb, he hadn't felt the aura of other Xianqi primordial immortals. Perhaps the Xianqi primordial immortals had already merged with the great Tao, omnipresent and hard to trace. Guan pondered while walking forward. Since Liu became the primordial Tao Emperor and made a name for himself, 3 more primordial Tao Emperors had appeared in the celestial spirit great world, not counting the Wushiji disciples. The emergence of the primordial Tao Emperors completely changed the structure of the human world, with the 9 major sects all starting to pursue them, and traveling beyond the outer heaven became the new pursuit of the immortal cultivators of the new era. In the outer void, it was easier to comprehend the great Tao, which would help them seek greater opportunities. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000,000 years passed. Among the second-generation disciples of the Taoist field of the beginningless, an Exant, blood prison great saint, Tianhong Emperor, celestial demon child, and LVCN had all successively reached the level of Taoist Zhangzizai, immortal, with the weakest of the Zizai, immortal realm. And the number of third-generation disciples kept growing, present in all realms. This year, just after the Spring Festival, Guan went for a breakthrough, and including the round trip, it consumed nearly 800 trillion years of lifespan, successfully reaching the perfection realm of Xianqi Primordial Immortal. Upon reaching the perfection realm, Guan experienced a comprehensive improvement far beyond his imagination regarding the gap between the late stage and the perfection. He felt that it was almost impossible for the late stage of the Xianqi Primordial Immortal to defeat the perfection realm of the Xianqi Primordial Immortal. Now, the Celestial Court was already within his sight. Although the Celestial Court's fortune still concealed many areas inside, the Celestial Court no longer appeared mysterious to him. The number of Heavenly Court immortals was indeed terrifying, and the presence in various realms far exceeded his expectations. Not to mention the Xianqi Primordial Immortals. The Heavenly Court had over 100 Tao Extreme Daoyuo immortals, and the number of Miaojin Daoyuo immortals surpassed 10,000, which was simply absurd. There was a palace that made him feel uneasy and his instincts told him that approaching it would result in something extremely dreadful. The plaque of the palace bore 4 large characters. Palace of the Pole Star, the treasure hall of the Celestial Emperor. Seeing this treasure hall, Guin knew that he had no correlation with the Celestial Emperor. Feeling the aura of the highest absolute, he could clearly perceive that the other party was his reincarnation body, everything visible to the True One's eyes. From the feelings the Palace of the Pole Star gave him, he knew he not only had no relation with the Celestial Emperor, but it was also impossible for his reincarnation body to become the Son of Heaven. The strength of the Celestial Emperor was exceedingly terrifying, and just the remnants of his aura could isolate all cause and effect. Guin could conclude that the Celestial Emperor's cultivation level far surpassed the Xianxi primordial immortal. Fortunately, the Celestial Emperor was not inside the Celestial Court. Although many areas of the Celestial Court were obscured by fortune, if the Celestial Emperor descended, it would be as dazzling as the midday sun, impossible to ignore. The aura of the Celestial Emperor inside the Palace of the Pole Star was already scalding enough. With the Celestial Emperor present, the hegemony of the Celestial Court could not be shaken. Thus, Guin felt that the struggle for the Son of Heaven was so laughable. The Son of Heaven could never replace the Celestial Emperor. Of course, the Sons of Heaven might be vying for the Celestial Emperor's favor. Absolute invincibility and eternal life. What kind of mindset would such an existence have after experiencing all changes? How did he view the 3,000 great worlds and the 3,000 great Tao? Guin was full of curiosity about the Celestial Emperor's perspective. With his curiosity, he arrived at a lake within the Taoist field of the beginningless, where he liked to fish. Just as he sat down on his usual stone chair, a figure descended from the sky, landing behind him, and respectfully saluted him. It was none other than Tianhong Emperor. Tianhong Emperor had fully awakened his immortal god memory, his previous identity being Tianhong Star Lord, having no relation with Tai Immortal Monarch, but related to Profound Star Immortal Monarch who previously wanted to preach. Profound Star Immortal Monarch was very clever. After his failure, he did not appear again and has not been involved in the Celestial Spirit Great World since. Master, now that I have fully awakened my immortal god identity, the Heavenly Court's fortune will soon return, and I fear I cannot stay in the Taoist field of the beginningless any longer. Tianhong Emperor said, with a worried expression. Once the Heavenly Court's fortune infiltrated, the Taoist field of the beginningless would be entirely exposed to the Heavenly Court. He knew his master wouldn't allow anyone to pry into the dojo, not even the Heavenly Court immortals. S.E. of the Novelier. NEET website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Rather than being expelled by his master, he decided it would be better to leave voluntarily. Over the years of cultivating in the Taoist field of the beginningless, he gained much, and even recalling with his identity of Tianhong Star Lord, it was a great opportunity. So he was full of gratitude to Guin. When you return, I don't expect you to show mercy to all living beings, but do not harm them either. Immortal gods need the worship of all living beings. Having received such incense offerings, they ought to protect them. Guin faced away from Tianhong Emperor, speaking leisurely. Over the years, Tai Immortal Monarch and the 72 Immortals of Jindong had been widely disseminating opportunities, also seeking the incense offerings of the mortal spirits, resulting in many divine statues and temples of theirs appearing in the human world. Tianhong Emperor replied, I will definitely remember. No matter how much time passes, you will always be my master. He wasn't arrogant because of his immortal god status, for his master was more formidable than all the immortal gods he knew. Perhaps only the legendary, celestial, Tao Venerable could compare to his master. Go. Gu didn't say much more. They were not mortals. Even in case of eternal goodbye, there was no need for many words. Some bonds could be felt even without words. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 733. The unfathomable Wuxia Emperor Tianhong's departure caused quite a stir within Wuxia. After all, he was the only one who could compete with an Xian and the blood prison great saint. Not even LV Xian could surpass him. Guan did not hide his true origin either. He revealed his identity as an immortal god, allowing Wuxiji disciples to formally come into contact with the celestial court, a time-honored ruler standing upon the 3,000 great Tao. Immortal god reincarnation. Second generation and third generation disciples were stunned, and an Xian shared her knowledge of the celestial court with them, ensuring a deeper understanding. Knowing that some Wuxiji disciples had ascended to immortality, the disciples within the dojo were even more thrilled. They felt that Wuxia was omnipotent, capable of achieving immortality and roaming the heavens. At the same time, they began to speculate more about Guan. Even after millions of years of cultivation within Wuxia, no one knew Gu An's origins, including an Xian and celestial demon child. CTH Ovelfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan could hear the disciples' conjectures about him. He did not care. However, the more the disciples revered him, the better it was. At the very least, it prevented any chaos. After Emperor Tianhong's departure, an Xian approached Guan again, asking whether to open the sect widely, but Guan refused. However, he did ease a bit, allowing disciples to take on apprentices. From the second generation and onward, each disciple could only take one apprentice, and should the apprentice commit evil, the master would also be held accountable. One person taking one apprentice seemed like a small number, but generations down the line, Wuxia was bound to grow stronger. Shortly after Gu and eased up, within less than 10 years, the first fourth-generation disciple was born. Guan was indifferent to the fourth-generation disciples and did not visit them in person. He prepared to hand over the major responsibilities to an Xian, preferring not to bother with trivial matters. An Xian did not monopolize authority. Instead, she let her eldest disciple, Zizai, manage many affairs. And Zizai often sighed, bearing the name Zizai, free, yet he did not feel free. Of course, he was merely expressing himself. He was quite satisfied with his current life, having found his own worth. Wuxia was gradually becoming stronger, and the world's various sects were doing the same. Observing the sects gave insight into the entire world, as the celestial spirit great world was also rapidly developing. With the assistance of immortal gods and guidance from primordial Tao Emperor, the great thousand worlds' celestial fortunes naturally soared. 30,000 years passed. Compared to the rapidly changing outside world, the transformations within Nine Spirit Continent were not as swift. On this day, early in the morning, two figures passed through layers of mist, entering Nine Spirit Continent. They were Li Ye and Li Xianyu. Li Ye was still dressed in black, his long hair tied behind him, with two strands framing his face. The gentle breeze caused his robe to flutter constantly, yet his stance remained as unyielding as a mountain. Li Xianyu's aura, though not as dominant as his master's, exuded the demeanor of a great power. Compared to his last visit, he now bore the aura of hardships, suggesting he had endured more trials than Li Ye. Such dense, spiritual energy, far surpassing before. Looking across the world, not even the grotto heavens of the nine major sects can match this, Li Ye remarked, feeling a bit nervous at the thought of meeting Guan soon. Li Xianyu nodded, about to respond when a brilliant light swiftly approached from the horizon. As the light dispersed, two figures appeared. It was an Xian and Li Xuanyu. Sister, Li exclaimed in joy. He had worried about Li Xuanyu, but seeing her here eased his mind considerably. He instantly noticed that Li Xuanyu had also achieved the status of free immortal, making him marvel at the remarkable fortunes of junior brother Gus Dojo. The Li family produced two free immortals, enough to soar to great heights. Yet, both of these free immortals were not in the Tai Tsong dynasty. Li Xuanyu was equally delighted to see Li Ye and immediately approached him. Li Ye did not act impolitely. He first greeted an Xian and introduced his apprentice. Your apprentice is quite remarkable, having already reached the cultivation level of free immortal. Li Xuanyu praised as she examined Li Xianyu. And Xian was not surprised. She had sensed it when Li Xianyu last visited. At that time, he had already achieved free immortal status. Li Xianyu's cultivation speed was undoubtedly top tier, causing an Xian to suspect that he had received guidance from their master. She knew that their master often kept an eye on Li, possibly aiding him secretly. He is indeed promising, but the path ahead is long for him as a free immortal. Li smiled. The four then flew towards Wushi while chatting, mostly Li and Li Xuanyu conversing. Li Xuanyu expressed, "You remain the same, always stirring things up. Compared to you, my experiences are quite dull, having mainly cultivated within the dojo." Li shook his head. "Though you stayed here, your cultivation level is not inferior to mine." Despite his words, Li did not consider Li Xuanyu to be his opponent. On the contrary, he was curious about Enzin's strength. In his perception, Enzin's cultivation was unfathomable, with her gaze making him feel uneasy. He suspected that an Xian had surpassed the free immortal level. If that were true, it would be extraordinary. An Xian, as his junior, had surpassed him. Back in Supreme Sect, apart from being Gu N's disciple, an Xian was nothing remarkable in his eyes. Who would have thought that, from Supreme Sect, an Xian could reach this level? As they flew, passing through the cities, Li was amazed by the spiritual aura of the beings along the way. All the beings here were engaging in immortal cultivation, and their levels were substantial. Nearly every city contained individuals surpassing celestial and earthly immortals, a foundation unmatched by the 9 major sections. Li Xianyu also marveled silently. Compared to his last visit, the continent had transformed significantly, even giving him the illusion that this was the real center of the celestial spirit great world. When the master-apprentice duo saw the cloud-enwrapped Wanjie Gate, they were even more astounded. Li Xianyu had seen it before, but from a distance. Being closer allowed him to truly feel Wanjie Gate's vast aura, inspiring a sense of reverence. An Xian noticed Li Ya's astonishment and explained the origins and uses of Wanjie Gate. After understanding, Li was even more impressed with Junior Brother Gu's Dao practice. Just how strong was Junior Brother Gu? He realized that the higher his own cultivation level, the greater the gap became between him and Junior Brother Gu. He did not feel disheartened because he knew it's not that his strength didn't grow fast enough, but the original gap was huge. Now he could see it more clearly. The four did not pause, and amidst Li Ya's continuous marveling, they finally reached the core dojo of Wushi. He could sense an invisible, immense barrier separating the outside world. Stepping inside, the overwhelming Dao intent flooded towards him, filling him with an exhilarated sensation. "Leah, you rascal, you're still alive?" A cheerful laugh rang out. Leah turned to see a middle-aged man standing under a tree in the forest below, gazing up at them. Supreme Sect's Zhua Yijian. He was here too. Leah was once again shocked because Zhua Yijian had also reached Zai Immortal Realm. This, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 734. Divine Origin Immortal Palace. Leah and Zhua Yijian could not remember how many years had passed since their last meeting, only that it seemed like a distant memory. Their unexpected reunion in a foreign land, separated by millions of years, filled them both with deep emotions. An Xian stopped, allowing the two to reminisce. Zhua Yijian, seeing the current Leah, was very pleased. He recalled that more than 4 million years ago, Liu was just an ordinary disciple of the Supreme Sect. At that time, and how in Wu Ju were the talents overshadowing him. Who would have thought that over 4 million years later, and how in Wu Ju had vanished without a trace, while Liu had become the #1 sword cultivator in the world. As a sword cultivator himself, Zhua Yijian naturally paid close attention to such a title. During their conversation, he could sense the vast sword intent contained within Liya, which secretly startled him. How did this kid cultivate? He came to Wuxia, bathing daily in the Tao intent of the supporting Tao sword venerable, achieving his current accomplishments. But compared to Liya, he felt that his own sword Tao was insignificant. Little did he know, Liya was equally shocked. He understood how Zhuo Yijian could reach the free immortal realm, but how could he also be so formidable in sword Tao? As they continued to talk, their excitement began to wane. An Xin, Li Xuanyu, and Li Xianyu could clearly sense the change in their mood, creating a subtle atmosphere. Eventually, an Xin took the initiative to speak, saying that Li still had to see his master and bid farewell to Zhuo Yijian. Watching the four of them leave, Zhuo Yijian sighed. How truly fortunate they are. He had knelt for many years on the heaven-repairing platform of the Supreme Sect to gain his current opportunity, while Liya's destiny changed the moment he stumbled upon Medicine Valley, where the supporting Tao sword venerable lay in wait. How could he not be envious? He remembered that in those days, Liya wasn't even the most outstanding in the Li family, let alone in the Supreme Sect. Zhuo Yijian then thought of his son, Zhuo Lin. Initially, Zhuo Lin had a good relationship with Guan, but over the years, they had gradually drifted apart. Elsewhere, Li Xianyu flew to Li Ya's side and asked curiously, "Master, do you bear a grudge against him?" Liya gave him a sideways glance and said, "How could there be a grudge? I grew up with his son." Sigh. The Tao heart is still not stable enough. Even this could upset me? Liya despised himself in his heart. How could he belittle others, especially his old acquaintance? If it were junior brother Gu, he certainly wouldn't react this way. With this thought, Li Ya's eyes regained their usual indifference. He decided that once he returned, he would cultivate his Tao heart anew. Li Xianyu, unaware of his master's thoughts, continued to ask about Zhuo Yijian's identity. Liya didn't hide anything and recounted the past between Zhuo Yijian and Gu, and knowing that Zhuo Yijian had impressed Master Gu through years of persistence. Li Xianyu couldn't help but marvel at how fortunate both he and Liya were. "Master, junior brother Gu really holds you in high regard. I'm even tempted to join the Wuxia sect now." Li Xianyu's words didn't anger Liya. He knew the kid was intentionally teasing him. Of course, if Li Xianyu could join the Wuxia sect, he would be happy as his master. But Wuxia isn't a place he could decide on his own. Nor does he have the face to ask Guan, considering how much he owes him. Soon after, the four of them descended onto the peak where Guan resided. An Xin and Li Xuanyu signaled for them to enter the courtyard. Then the two women disappeared. Liya gazed at the courtyard gate, not daring to pry with his divine sense. To his surprise, he felt a bit nervous. However, with Li Xianyu watching him, he had to maintain the demeanor of a master. He straightened his back and walked towards the courtyard gate. Li Xianyu, watching his back, found it amusing. Who would have thought Master could get so nervous? Could Master Gu really be his junior brother? It felt more like he was his master's master. As Li Xianyu thought, he followed behind Liya, suddenly feeling that his master's meeting with his junior brother would be interesting. Entering the courtyard, Liya saw a large cauldron and a slender figure meditating in front of it. The figure's back looked familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before. He didn't think much of it. Seeing old acquaintances in Gu An's dojo was quite normal. CTH Nellfire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. His eyes shifted to a figure under a big tree in the courtyard. That person was lying on a long chair reading a book, a posture that left him dazed. He recalled how, over 4 million years ago in Profound Valley, Guan also enjoyed lying down to read. "Brother, why are you standing there daydreaming? Have you been severely injured recently, harming your mind?" Gu An's teasing voice brought Liya back to reality. For some reason, hearing Gu An's taunt relaxed him, as if their relationship had returned to the old days. A smile appeared on Liya's face as he stepped forward and said, "How could that be? When have I ever been seriously injured?" Seeing his master relax instantly, Li Xianyu grew more respectful towards Guan. Not only was Master Gu powerful, but he also empathized with others. Such a great power was truly the supreme being of the human world. Eager to hear what his master and junior brother would discuss, Li Xianyu quickly followed. Sunlight streamed into the courtyard, and birds flew out of the woods as if celebrating the heartwarming reunion of old friends. Under the blue sky, an endless sea of clouds lay still, and an old tree stood at its zenith. A white-robed Taoist was meditating beneath the tree. It was none other than Li Xuanmiao. After attaining his immortal class and gaining celestial court destiny, his cultivation level had soared, now reaching the innate golden immortal realm, and it was still rapidly growing. Though his position was now that of an immortal monarch, the innate golden immortal realm was still unqualified for an immortal monarch, so he hadn't started his immortal duties yet. A rainbow of 7 colors descended from the sky, landing 7 steps away from Li Xuanmiao. A lean old man in purple, frail and thin to the bone but with bright, sword-like eyes, full of sharpness, appeared before him. Immortal Monarch Xuanmiao, I bear a decree from the Supreme. You are to go to the divine Origin Immortal Palace to receive the heavenly Tao divine weapon. The old man in purple bowed respectfully, but his eyes scrutinized Li Xuanmiao up and down. Li Xuanmiao opened his eyes, and the old man lowered his gaze. I understand. I will go shortly, Li Xuanmiao said, without immediately rising. His reincarnation projection was not fully retracted. The old man in purple continued. The Supreme also told me to remind you that if the great immortal divine Yuan tries to recruit you, listen but make no promises. All right, Li Xuanmiao agreed. Though he had spent years cultivating in the celestial court, various immortals and gods frequently tried to recruit him, giving him an insight into the factional struggles within the celestial court. The internal factions of the celestial court were more complex than he had imagined. Despite his immortal monarch status, he had to tread cautiously. The gods and star monarchs likely had backings of even higher beings. The old man in purple said no more, bowed, and disappeared. Li Xuanmiao stood up, gazing at the sea of clouds, as if peering through to the cycle of reincarnation. Divine Origin Immortal Palace, Great Immortal Divine Yuan. Li Xuanmiao looked down at the 3,000 great worlds, pondering how to contact his master. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 735. Boosting Life. Span Li and his disciples stayed at the Taoist field of the beginningless for only a month. During this month, Gu and Li traveled through mountains and waters, occasionally discussing the Tao, as if returning to their youth. The reason Li visited Gu was to express his gratitude, but until their parting, he couldn't utter the word thanks. Spending a month of leisure with Li made Gu very happy. After Li left, Gu gave a lecture to all the disciples, making the Wushiji disciples realize Li Ya's importance in Zin's heart. The peaceful days continued. After reaching perfection in the Xianxi primordial immortal realm, Gu felt that even having trillions of years of lifespan wouldn't guarantee success for his next breakthrough. Thus, he began to increase his lifespan income. Nowadays, his dojo encompassed the entire 9-spirit continent, making it easy to expand the number of medicinal herbs. With the help of the ghost mother of ephemera, Gu could relax and simply enjoy the results. 1,000 years later, his annual lifespan income increased to 200 million years. Another million years passed. In the celestial spirit great world, similar yet different conflicts unfolded. Overall, the world was relatively peaceful, and sect disputes did not affect the common folk. In contrast to the tranquility of the celestial spirit great world, the 3,000 great worlds ushered in the arrival of the immortal gods. In each great world, several immortal gods appeared, summoning wind and rain, bringing harmony to heaven and earth and all living beings. People began to believe in the immortal gods, strengthening the heavenly Tao destiny that enveloped the great worlds. Under the banners of 2 sons of heaven, the immortal gods began to act, not only recruiting the masters of heaven and earth, but also guiding the masses to worship them. Meanwhile, they portrayed the opposing son of heaven and immortal gods as evil, depicting the future battle of sons of heaven as a catastrophic event for the 3,000 great worlds, a battle between good and evil. Guin stayed within the celestial spirit great world, watching the actions of those immortal gods, feeling that the celestial court was nothing special. The celestial court was powerful enough, but its order and conduct did not match the name of the immortal gods. The disparity between immortal gods and mortal spirits was vast. Mortal spirits could not see the actions of immortal gods. A single word from an immortal god would become an ancient legend that would linger in the world for thousands, even tens of thousands of years. Mortal spirits could not guess that these myths were all conspiracies, and generational beliefs caused the 3,000 great worlds to split into two, mutually hostile. It was just past noon at the Taoist field of the beginningless. Two figures descended from the sky, landing on two adjacent mountain peaks. They were the blood-prisoned Great Saint and Sin. Guin and an Xian stood in the mountain ravine, looking up at them. The two had just flown out of the barrier established by Guin, and the result of the battle was decided. Sin was not a match for the blood-prisoned Great Saint, but he succeeded in wounding him, surprising the blood-prisoned Great Saint. "You brat!" The blood-prisoned Great Saint widened his eyes, looking at Sin on the opposite mountain peak, unable to calm his emotions. Though Sin still looked like a young man, he already possessed the demeanor of the Emperor of Eternal Life, with steadfast arrogance and a spirited smile, full of vigor. "Blood-prisoned Great Saint, our gap has shortened again." CTH Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Sin said loudly, his voice resonating through heaven and earth. The blood-prisoned Great Saint, irritated, said, "Brat, if you want to defeat me, you still need more cultivation. I wasn't serious just now." "Is that so? I don't believe it. I think you were already anxious." "Humph, that's my fighting style." The two began to argue, neither yielding. By the small river in the ravine, Guin and an Xian watched them bicker, smiles on their faces. Little junior brother's talent is truly frightening. It seems even greater than Tian Hao and Emperor Tianhong. "Master, what is his background?" An Xian, curious, asked. Because Sin was always taught by Guin, others thought his rapid cultivation was reasonable. But she knew differently, as she was also tutored by Guin and deeply understood Sin's extraordinary nature. This boy wasn't simply growing in cultivation level. His body was already molding the great Tao, becoming stronger continuously. An Xian sensed a terrifying cause and effect within him, a mystery even the immortal emperors I couldn't see through. "He comes from the desperate celestial tomb, a place outside the great Tao." Guin briefly explained Sin's background. He valued an Xian highly, so since she wanted to know, he wouldn't refuse. An Xian was his successor. Someday, she would become the master of the beginningless, and he could roam freely across the heavens. After hearing this, an Xian felt a deep sympathy for Sin's past, but did not show much change in expression. Though Master didn't explain in detail Sin's identity, she did not press further. Sin looked young, but having stayed in the desperate celestial tomb for so long, he endured lonely years far beyond their imagination. Given that Sin lived for so long, his current rapid growth was understandable. Perhaps in those endless years, Sin had been accumulating, now finally ready to erupt with power. The conversation between the master and disciple did not reach the ears of the blood-prisoned Great Saint and Sin. When the two descended, Guin and an Xian stopped talking. "Master, do you think he was anxious just now?" Sin approached Guin, frowning. Guin patted his head and smiled. "Victory is victory. Defeat is defeat. Why worry about how much effort the other put in? Continually cultivate, and one day you will win." Sin agreed, smiling broadly, and did not dwell on the issue. The blood-prisoned Great Saint felt displeased. He didn't want to lose. But since the words came from Guin, he didn't dare refute and remained silently disgruntled. "Sin, you are now a free immortal capable enough in cultivation. Do you want to venture out and train for a while? Guin looked at Sin, smiling. Seeing Master truly pampering Sin, perhaps even more so than herself, and Xin thought Sin's background was indeed not simple. No matter how she looked, Sin's brows and eyes seemed somewhat similar to Master's. Though she had such suspicions, she dared not point them out. Sin being suppressed in the desperate celestial tomb for so many years indicated that Master might have encountered dreadful events in the past, making it impossible to protect his son. Guin, catching in Zin's inner thoughts, found them amusing. She guessed correctly. Yes, can I? Sin nodded excitedly. Guin looked at the blood prison great saint and said, You accompany him to train for a millennium. No matter what he does, do not intervene. Just follow him, letting him experience and judge for himself. Me? The blood prison great saint widened his eyes, unwilling. Seeing his reluctance, Sin immediately said, Master, just him. Gritting his teeth, the blood prison great saint found the boy increasingly difficult to deal with. You both may go. Guin shook his head with a smile and then turned away. Watching him, Xin said meaningfully, This is not just a test for little junior brother. Perhaps it's also a test for you. A test? Hearing this, the blood prison great saint immediately felt invigorated. He loved the Master's tests, knowing benefits would follow if completed. His previous experience on the path of the Great Tao had fruitful outcomes, not only forging numerous friendships and brotherhoods, but also becoming the first primordial Tao emperor in the Taoist field of the beginningless, aside from Master. Xin turned and followed Guin's footsteps. After their figures disappeared into the forest, the blood prison great saint looked at Sin, smiling meaningfully. Brat, in the human world, while I won't interfere, I will report everything you do to the Master. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 736. The Way of the Immortal Official the Blood Prison Great Saint and Sin have been gone for a millennium, traveling in the human world. Time passes slowly, but for the disciples in the dojo, it seems like they were only gone for a day. During his travels in the human world, Sin broadened his understanding. He encountered all sorts of things, saved lives, was deceived, and even killed people. He also had conflicts with major sections. However, all grudges disappeared when he returned to the Taoist field of the beginningless, because no one could forcefully charge against Sin. These experiences made him grow a lot, and he began to contemplate what kind of person he wanted to become. The blood prison great saint followed Sin, saying he wouldn't interfere, but when faced with the siege of major sects, he couldn't stand by and took action. This also eased his relationship with Sin. Those two quieted down, but among the third-generation disciples, a fearless one emerged. Guin didn't feel annoyed, but found it interesting. After all, he wouldn't teach the third-generation disciples or the fourth-generation disciples. Watching their antics had its own charm. 30,000 years later, the celestial spirit Great World welcomed an unexpected guest. In the depths of the cosmos, at the World Gate, the celestial spirit God awaited the visitors. The World Gate emitted brilliant light, as bright as the sun. From the intense light within the gate, a figure slowly walked out. Feeling the other's celestial Tao destiny, the celestial spirit God raised his hand in salute and said, The celestial spirit God greets the immortal monarch. May I know why the immortal monarch has come? I am Yin Immortal Monarch. I've come for the grand cause of the Xin Yuan human venerable, the Son of Heaven. I've also come to seek immortal fate for the living beings of this realm. A voice came from the intense light, with a tone that was indifferent yet filled with undeniable pride. As the voice fell, a man in black robes stepped out from the intense light. He was tall and imposing, with two purple pythons coiled around his waist. The python heads wrapped around his back, raised high above his head like two colorful ribbons fluttering behind him. Hearing Yin Immortal Monarch's words, the celestial spirit God's expression remained unchanged. He replied, The celestial spirit Great World does not wish to meddle in the contention for the Son of Heaven. If it were before, he would have hesitated. But now, with Guin supporting him and Gu An's disciple in the Immortal class, what did he have to fear? Whether inside or outside the celestial court, he possessed confidence. Ancient Immortal Monarch's gaze fell upon the celestial spirit god, as if trying to see through him. The celestial spirit god fearlessly met his gaze. As the intense light within the world gate faded, Ancient Immortal Monarch was gradually engulfed by darkness, making him appear less like an immortal god and more like an evil god. May I ask whose domain this realm belongs to? Ancient Immortal Monarch asked. Being refused by the celestial spirit god didn't anger him, for he understood the message the celestial spirit god was conveying. This guy had backers. The celestial spirit god frowned, not expecting the other to pursue the question. At that moment, a figure appeared behind the celestial spirit god, and the immortal light emitted from him caught the corner of the celestial spirit god's eye, causing him to turn his head instinctively. I was wondering who it was, so it's Tai Immortal Monarch. Ancient Immortal Monarch's voice rang out. Looking at Tai Immortal Monarch behind the celestial spirit god, he smiled. He wasn't afraid of the celestial spirit Great World having backers. He was only afraid if the backers of the celestial spirit Great World wanted to support the rival Son of Heaven. Tai Immortal Monarch spoke. Ancient Immortal Monarch. The celestial spirit Great World was once under an order of destruction and has been removed from the registry of the 3,000 Great Worlds. Although it will be restored in the future, for now, it doesn't count in the Son of Heaven contention. Ancient Immortal Monarch laughed. Since you put it that way, it'll indeed give some face. Tai Immortal Monarch nodded slightly. The celestial spirit god silently stepped aside, not obstructing the view of the two immortal monarchs. CTH Ovalfire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Ancient Immortal Monarch and Tai Immortal Monarch were clearly acquainted. However, the atmosphere between them was somewhat tense, making the celestial spirit god feel a sense of impending conflict. What's this? Does Ancient Immortal Monarch have further teachings to impart, or does the human venerable have additional instructions? Tai Immortal Monarch asked as he took a step forward, his aura bursting forth, causing the celestial spirit god's expression to change. Ancient Immortal Monarch laughed. No, I was just curious. It said that the Son of Heaven descended to this great world. I wonder if it's true or false. If it's true, do you want to investigate the Son of Heaven? Tai Immortal Monarch pressed, his attitude arrogant and domineering. How could I dare? Forget it, consider it my intrusion. Ancient Immortal Monarch shook his head, smiling, then turned and walked towards the world gate. His celestial Tao destiny activated the Tao intent within the world gate, causing a burst of heavenly Tao light to erupt, once again illuminating the cosmos. Tai Immortal Monarch and the celestial spirit god watched him walk into the world gate. Only when his presence completely disappeared did they look at each other. The celestial spirit god hesitated to speak. Tai Immortal Monarch's expression became calm. He said, if we don't act strong, he would surely return. Only by showing no fear of the Son of Heaven can the Son of Heaven behind him have apprehensions. After all, right now, the Son of Heaven's opponent is another Son of Heaven. We cannot afford internal conflicts. The celestial spirit god found this reasonable and stopped asking questions. Tai Immortal Monarch turned and left, leaving behind a parting remark. More immortal gods will descend to the lower realm. Be prepared. Before his words completely faded, Tai Immortal Monarch disappeared. The celestial spirit god wasn't worried. Instead, he thought that this guy was better at dealing with situations. No wonder he became an immortal monarch. Even the path of an immortal official requires talent. The celestial spirit god lamented in his heart, then shook his head and walked towards his meditation spot. Far away in the Taoist field of the beginningless, Guin was very pleased with Tai Immortal Monarch's attitude. He didn't need to instruct him. He already knew how to handle things. Neat, smart. As for Xian Yuan, human venerable behind, Yin Xian, immortal monarch, Guan wasn't concerned, just a Miao Zhan Daoyuo immortal. Ancestor, how do you see my sword intent? Shangguan Xiener, standing in front of Guan, asked. She held a wooden sword, its blade imbued with sword intent. Guan was sitting on the steps carving a wooden statue and casually replied, "Not bad. Ancestor, could you be more attentive? No matter what I show you, you always say not bad, but I can never rank in the top 3 among the third-generation disciples." Shangguan Xiener pouted, her tone aggrieved and dissatisfied. Guan actually liked her attitude. The other third-generation disciples were too respectful and even reserved around him. Only Shangguan Xiener dared to show some emotions in front of him. Shangguan Xiener was very smart and knew her limits. Every word she said was rehearsed in her mind. Guan could hear her inner thoughts and didn't think she was hypocritical or pretentious. As long as she didn't harm others, what was wrong with using clever means to get closer? How about you go out to train like Sin? Guan looked up at her and smiled. Shangguan Xiener immediately shook her head and said, "I won't go out. I have no enemies or family outside, so I go out." Going out isn't that easy to return. Shangguan Xiener thought to herself, not everyone could be like Sin and the blood prison great saint, and there were too many entanglements in the red dust. She was afraid of getting caught up in them. Rather than forming unnecessary karmic ties outside, she preferred to stay and focus on cultivating. Her goal was to become a powerful being like her ancestor, not to get married and start a family, and certainly not to form unnecessary relationships with karmic repercussions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 737, Great Tao Cause and Effect, Retribution for Evil Gu, and listened to Shangguan Xiener's mental activity and found it amusing. What rumors were spreading in private? Those disciples who went out and never returned were not turned away by Gu and go ask your teachers. You're not qualified for me to teach you yet. Guan replied, then continued carving the wooden statue in his hand. Shangguan Xiener widened her eyes, wanting to say something, but ultimately held back. It seems my sword skills are still inadequate, not yet seen by the ancestor. Thinking this way, Shangguan Xiener felt she had gotten an answer. She demonstrated in front of Gu, and just to see how her achievement stood. Since they were lacking, she would continue to practice. At least now, she had more motivation to gain sword enlightenment. Once she figured it out, Shangguan Xiener became invigorated, her whole demeanor returning to her usual lively state. After saying a few words, she hurriedly left. Gu Aeon's lips curved upwards as he continued to carve the wooden statue. Over the long years, he had many hobbies, and those he persisted in, he integrated into his cultivation practices. Like the wooden figure in his hand now, which seemed ordinary but contained profound mysteries. He wanted to turn these figures into a powerful combat force. The number he had stored was already considerable, though his cultivation realm was still insufficient. After Shangguan Xiener left, no one else came to disturb Guan. Until dusk, Shun Jun, who was meditating in front of the artifact refining cauldron, opened her eyes. She looked at Guan, who was admiring the wooden figure in his hand, and said, "Guan, I saw someone who is inexplicably directed by karma to rescue her." After hearing this, Guan looked at her and asked, "Who is it?" While speaking, he followed Shun Jun's karma, and what he saw and heard made his heart a little excited. Finally found her. It's a woman meditating in the dark. That darkness, I can't describe, it's very oppressive. Shunjin took a deep breath and said seriously. Guan stood up, putting the wooden figure into his chest pocket. He looked at Shunjin and asked, "Do you want to go take a look?" Saw the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Shunjin, after hearing this, didn't immediately agree but hesitated and asked, "Would it be dangerous? Am I being manipulated by some powerful entity to draw you in?" After comprehending the Tao for millions of years, Although she didn't practice chi absorption cultivation much, her enlightenment period was the longest. After achieving Primordial Tao Emperor, she had the most reincarnation projections in the dojo, more than an Exian. Though an Exian never said it, Guan knew she already considered Shunjun her greatest future adversary for the Magic Battle Conference. The Blood Prison Great Saint was no longer a threat to her. With profound Tao practice and rich understanding of the path of cause and effect, she felt nothing in the world was coincidental. She couldn't possibly achieve enlightenment for no reason, nor develop a strong urge to rescue a stranger without cause. It must be some peerless great power plotting against her behind the scenes. What made her worthy of such scheming? She could only think of Gu and, indeed, someone the unseen forces is guiding you to rescue that woman. Guan walked toward her, smiling as he spoke. Upon hearing this, Shunjun sighed in relief and asked, "You noticed this early on? Do you know that person? Let's go, we'll talk on the way." Guan came to her side and gently patted her shoulder. Shunjun stood up and followed in Gu An's footsteps. As soon as she took a step, the surrounding scene suddenly changed. She found herself in darkness, with silver lines underfoot flowing forward endlessly like countless schools of fish. Guan walked ahead. Shunjun's gaze fell on his back, and her unease dissipated. She quickly caught up to walk shoulder to shoulder with Gu and curiously asked, "What is this place? Why is there no aura of the great Tao around?" This is a void space opened up by the path of cause and effect. Although there seems to be nothing here, there are great cause and effect barriers at the edges. These barriers are products of the rules constructed by the 3,000 great Tao. Violating these rules will bring retribution, dissipating all Tao practice and suffering infinite misfortune until one's consciousness extinguishes. Guan answered. It was also his first time here. Even if a Tao extreme Daoyuo Immortal came here, tainted by great cause and effect, they would meet a terrible end. When he used karma divine power to curse enemies, he suffered retribution from the great cause and effect, but compared to the barriers in this dimension, it was like a grain of rice compared to the moon. Though strong, the great cause and effect here couldn't harm primordial Tao fruit. In other words, a Xianqi primordial immortal could come and go freely. The great cause and effect here would be like nothing to them. Great cause and effect doesn't mean bad karma? Shunjun muttered. You can understand it that way. Let me tell you a story next. Guan agreed, then began narrating the story of the Emperor of Eternal Life. The journey was long. He walked at a leisurely pace, telling the story on the surface, but in truth, he was using his Tao intent to help the trapped fairy Yao Xian dispel the retributions of great cause and effect. Fairy Yao Xian was entangled by great cause and effect, her consciousness sinking into a boundless abyss, constantly experiencing her worst fears, already breaking down. She hadn't entirely lost consciousness due to the Emperor's destiny protection. One had to admit, the Taoist Emperor truly was a marvelous creation, able to contend against the great Tao. For the immortal realm, Fairy Yaoxuan's great cause and effect couldn't be dispelled, and the Emperor of Eternal Life was helpless. But for Guan now, he could resolve the retribution of her great cause and effect. At first, Shunjun wasn't very interested, listening while experiencing this unfamiliar and unknown cosmos. But soon she got captivated by the story of the Emperor of Eternal Life. Born into misery, orphaned, shouldering vengeance while cultivating, meeting a beloved but having to part, roaming across realms with an obsession but not saving the beloved before being hunted by immortal gods. Shunjun always had a habit of writing, but she too got absorbed in the life story of the Emperor of Eternal Life, her emotions swaying along. Mysteriously, she seemed to empathize with him. The Emperor of Eternal Life sacrificed himself in the great cause and effect steel, trying to use the most perfect creation of the path of cause and effect to search for Fairy Yaoxian. As Guan spoke to this point, he stopped, his gaze shifting to Shunjun. Shunjun understood. She asked, "The woman I saw is Fairy Yaoxian. and the karma that led me to save her is the Emperor of Eternal Lives obsession. Guan answered, that's right. Once Fairy Yao Xian is saved, this karma will be over, and you won't be affected anymore. Shun Jun frowned and said, but why did the Emperor of Eternal Life choose me? Do I have some connection to Fairy Yao Xian? Am I her descendant? No, you are not. But Sins are. Am not? Then why me? Shenzhen couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, she thought of something. Her eyes widened, and she asked in amazement, could it be you are the descendant of the Emperor of Eternal Life? No. What is your relationship with him? Are you his reincarnation? The thought that Gu and could be the Emperor of Eternal Life made Shun Jun's feelings complicated and inexplicable. Guan shook his head with a smile. He has already died in the great cause and affect steel without a chance for reincarnation. I just knew him. That was true. The Emperor of Eternal Life had not reincarnated. Rather, he was Gu An's reincarnation body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 738. Exile Realm. Upon hearing that Gu En was not the reincarnation of the Emperor of Eternal Life, Shunjin couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Although Gu En already had several women, the thought of Gu En having had a memorable and reincarnated romance with a certain woman still made her a little uneasy. Gu En could hear her thoughts and found it amusing. He had no intention of rekindling his past with Fairy Yao Xian. He too felt uneasy about it. He just needed to save Fairy Yao Xian and fulfill the Emperor of Eternal Lives obsession. As for what happens to Fairy Yao Xian afterward, that would be up to her. Shenzhen asked a few more questions. She was full of curiosity about the Emperor of Eternal Life. His experiences sounded even more legendary than Hao's, and she had also heard many names of cosmic planes and great beings in the stories, giving her a sense of touching the pinnacle of the great Tao. Guan, satisfying her curiosity, did not slow his pace. Though he seemed to be walking leisurely, each step took him a significant distance. However, this universe was too vast, far beyond comparison to the celestial spirit great world. After Guan dealt with all of Shun Jun's questions and saw her fall silent, he quickened his pace. Shun Jun looked up and saw a purple lotus blooming in the darkness ahead, emitting circles of purple light, beautiful and yet exuding a dangerous aura. When she saw the purple lotus, she barely had time to think before it suddenly appeared in front of her. Before she could react, Guan waved his sleeve, and a fierce wind arose at his feet, dispersing the purple lotus at once, revealing a figure. It was a woman in a white dress, sitting cross-legged with an upright, sacred posture, resembling an ancient female immortal, exuding an aura of desolation. Her delicate face, skin like white jade, and slightly furrowed brows stood out. What an extraordinary female immortal. No matter how many reincarnations Shanjun had projected into, seeing countless daughters of heaven, she was still astounded by Fairy Yaoxuan's appearance and demeanor. What's wrong with her? Is she still alive? Shenzhen asked cautiously, standing beside Guan, not daring to act rashly, afraid to disturb Fairy Yaoxian. Guan replied, she's all right now, but her consciousness needs time to recover. I see, Shenzhen responded, yet she didn't understand what Guan had done. Did he save Fairy Yaoxian with just a wave of his hand? She watched Fairy Yaoxian silently, feeling her profound aura, her cultivation level unfathomable. So strong, stronger than anyone she had ever seen, of course, except for Guan Gu, and never revealed his aura. At first glance, he seemed like an ordinary person, but anyone who dared to challenge him would face his unrivaled power. The two fell silent, letting the void fall into complete stillness. After a long while, Shenzhen saw Fairy Yaoxuan's eyelids tremble slightly, making her nervous. The main character of Gu An's story was the Emperor of Eternal Life. She knew little about Fairy Yaoxuan's personality, but from the story, this Fairy Yaoxian seemed extraordinary, a formidable presence on the path of the great Tao. Of course, What she feared more was knowing the relationship between Fairy Yaoxian and Guan. Did they come to rescue Fairy Yaoxian just because of their acquaintance with the Emperor of Eternal Life? That sounded too far-fetched. This was not the right place. And how terrifying was the path of cause and effect. Fairy Yaoxian slowly opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was Gu In and Shunjun. She could see Shunjun's face clearly, but Gu An's face appeared blurry to her. Only his outfit was distinct. Her eyes were empty, devoid of emotion, like a deep well, making Shunjun's heart quiver. She did not speak, just quietly watched Guin and Shunjun. Guin remained silent, knowing that Fairy Yaoxian was regaining her consciousness. Her cultivation had fallen to the Taoist collection Freedom Immortal realm, but the Taoist Emperor's destiny still lingered. With time, she could recover all her memories. Thus, silence enveloped both sides once again. After the time of a stick of incense passed, just as Shunjun was about to lose her patience, Fairy Yaoxian spoke. "Who are you? Are you the ones who expelled the cause and effect from me?" Her voice was hoarse, her words hesitant. Guin answered, "You should be able to feel the cause and effect of the Emperor of Eternal Life on her. It was his obsession that brought us here to rescue you. From now on, you can return to the Tao universe and regain your freedom." "The Emperor of Eternal Life," Fairy Yaoxian murmured, clearly reminiscing about the name. She did not fall silent again, but asked, "Can you take me away from here?" E of the novel, F. Ire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guin smiled. "We managed to come here, so naturally we can leave. But before we go, we can help you resolve some potential troubles." He turned around, looking into the depths of the universe, and said, "Show yourself, product of the evil intent of the path of cause and effect." Upon hearing this, Shunjun quickly turned around to look, but no matter where she looked, she could not see any sign of life. Fairy Yaoxian also looked up, her gaze directed towards one spot, her eyes growing colder. "Who are you to come to the exile realm?" A cold voice echoed, and with it, a pair of enormous eyes opened in the darkness, overlooking Guin and the others. Shunjun, feeling those eyes on her, felt extremely uncomfortable, as if she was experiencing the utmost malice. "Product of evil intent? Not a living being?" Shunjun asked in a low voice. "Yes, the path of cause and effect is the result of all beings defying the Tao rules. These actions carry various evil intents, and when the path of cause and effect gathers these evil intents together, it gives birth to it. It is part of the path of cause and effect. The more evil intent it encounters, the stronger it becomes. It wants to reach the Tao universe to absorb the evil intents of all beings, but it is bound by the path of cause and effect and cannot find the Tao universe. It can only sense that far away there is the evil intent it desires. So Fairy Yaoxian became its hope. If we leave directly, it will attach itself to Fairy Yaoxian." Guin introduced the origin of the mysterious giant eyes, his explanation making those eyes narrow in malice. Shunjun shuddered at the thought. If such an existence were brought to the 3,000 great worlds, wouldn't it cause a disaster? She asked, no more questions, warily watching the mysterious giant eyes ahead. "You can see through my origins. Since that's the case, what do you plan to do with me?" The cold voice sounded again, filled with apprehension and unwillingness. It did not want to give up on Fairy Yaoxian as its hope. Fairy Yaoxian was trapped here, and so was it. Staying here, it could not find the meaning of its existence, and the images brought by those evil intents made it yearn for the human world. "Fellow Taoist, if you continue to watch the show, I may have to ruin your plans." Gu An's words shocked both the mysterious giant eyes and Shunjun. There were other people? The mysterious giant eyes shifted rapidly, seemingly trying to locate the person's position. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 739. Xuanxiong Saint Mother Xinjun searched everywhere, but could not find the presence of any other entities. Fairy Yaoxian frowned deeply. She hadn't expected that more than one presence was watching her secretly. Guan, on the contrary, remained calm, waiting for the other party to appear. A burst of intense light erupted from the depths of the void across from the mysterious giant eye, startling Shunjun to turn around and see. Fairy Yaoxian also stood up and turned to look. The radiant light blossomed, illuminating half the cosmic void. Within that light, a figure slowly stepped out. From the figure's shape, it was a woman with an elegant posture and an extraordinary aura. She seemed like an ancient giant deity descending, towering over countless miles, larger than any mountain Shunjun had ever seen, making her widen her eyes involuntarily. I didn't expect fellow Taoists to see through my concealment technique. A cold female voice echoed, accompanied by a majestic heavenly power. Heavenly Court Immortals. Guan cast a life-span detection toward her. Xuanxiong Saint Mother. Late-stage Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal Realm 0/0/0. Xuanxiong Saint Mother. Guan noted the name, planning to inquire with Celestial Spirit God and Tai, Immortal Monarch later. Xuanxiong Saint Mother's celestial Dao destiny was extraordinarily dense. Guan could only perceive her cultivation level in true form. She was not a human who ascended to immortality through cultivation. Her true form was a tree. Guan spoke. May I ask whom fellow Taoist seeks? This woman is not my aim. My goal is to subdue this evil entity. Could fellow Taoist grant me some convenience? Xuanxiong Saint Mother replied, devoid of the arrogance typical of heavenly court immortals. In truth, she was quite astounded. When Guan had entered with Shunjun, she was already surprised that this person could resist the counter forces of the path of cause and effect. Now, face to face, she couldn't discern Guan's depths. She couldn't even see his features clearly. What did it imply? Guan's Tao practice compared to hers was not lower and perhaps higher. The most terrifying thing was that this person bore no sign of celestial Tao destiny, indicating he did not belong to the heavenly court. To cultivate to this degree without reliance on the heavenly court, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Despite the countless powerful entities within the heavenly court, the vast majority of immortal gods grew to their current status due to the celestial Tao destiny. The higher the realm, the harder it is to ascend further. Talent alone can't measure it. If it's solely for this evil entity, I naturally want to interfere, so well leave first. As Guan spoke, he raised his hand and beckoned to Fairy Yaoxian, signaling her to follow. Then, he turned and left. Shunjun followed closely, and Fairy Yaoxian didn't hesitate, catching up to their pace. May I know fellow Taoist's name? I am the supreme immortal of the heavenly court, Xuanxiong Saint Mother. Since we have met, why not forge a good bond? My dojo is in the celestial extreme 9 heavens. You are welcome to visit any time. Xuanxiong Saint Mother's voice echoed from behind, but it didn't cause Guan to stop. My name is Meng Lang. I wander the heavens without a fixed abode. If I pass by the celestial extreme 9 heavens, I will certainly visit fellow Taoist. Guan responded casually, causing Shunjun's mouth to twitch. Xuanxiong Saint Mother said no more, watching Guan and the 2 others depart. Soon, the trio vanished into the void, while Xuanxiong Saint Mother continued toward the mysterious giant eye, the heavenly Tao light she emitted gradually enveloping the darkness. Elsewhere, Guan led the trio into the chaotic currents of the great Tao, surrounded by dazzling lights that were mesmerizing. That person is truly a heavenly court immortal? How come that evil entity didn't flee? Before we left, it was still staring blankly. Shunjun remarked. Guan stared ahead, saying, she is indeed an immortal god. The heavenly court's destiny can't be faked. As for that evil entity, it wasn't foolish, but it couldn't escape at all. It doesn't fear immortal gods as it coexists with the path of cause and effect. That threatening? Can the immortal gods completely annihilate it? Shinjun pressed. You heard her. She wants to subdue it, which means she's here for personal gain. Subdue it? Allowing such an evil entity to grow is not right. Isn't she afraid of catastrophe? Shunjun suddenly felt worried, thinking of how that evil entity absorbed the malicious thoughts of all beings, becoming an extremely terrifying existence that could bring catastrophe to the 3,000 great worlds. She used to love writing books and was sensitive to such plot lines. S.E. the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. I wouldn't know. Immortal gods have their own intentions. Guin replied casually, actually not caring about such an evil entity. Not to mention Xin Qi Primordial Immortal. Even a Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal could easily subdue it. After all, the evil entity was a creation of the path of cause and effect. No matter how strong, it couldn't surpass the path itself. However, to beings that haven't created their own Dao, such an evil entity is extremely terrifying, leading to a fate worse than death if encountered. Fairy Yaoxian followed behind silently. Her heart was filled with curiosity. Before being expelled by the path of cause and effect, she hadn't encountered many immortal gods, and the aura of Xuanxiang's Saint Mother was stronger than any great power she had seen. Who was this person? Why did she come? Fairy Yaoxian faintly guessed, seeing Gu An's back gradually overlap with another figure in her mind. Though she had guesses, she did not question him. There must be another hidden story he wasn't revealing. Currently, she needed to focus more on restoring her own cultivation level. Soon, the chaotic currents of the Great Tao disappeared. They arrived at a long river of Great Tao. Light rose from beneath their feet, enveloping them in brightness. Guin stopped, turning slightly to face Fairy Yaoxian, saying, "This is the path of the Great Tao. From now on, you are free." Fairy Yaoxian gazed at him. Even with his redefined face, she felt a sense of familiarity. She asked, "You saved me. Don't you need me to do anything for you?" Shinjun watched them in silence. "I was an old acquaintance of the Emperor of Eternal Life. He has died within the great cause and effect steel. I just fulfilled his last wish." Guin revealed the fate of the Emperor of Eternal Life. Fairy Yaoxian's eyes changed upon hearing this. Shinjun let out a deep breath. It seemed Guin and Fairy Yaoxian indeed had no direct connection. At this moment, Fairy Yaoxian looked at Shinjun, saying, "She carries the cause and effect of my child. So, my child has also been saved by you. Where is he?" "He is at my dojo, taken in as my disciple. If you wish to see him, I will let him meet you when he becomes stronger." Guin said truthfully. Fairy Yaoxian turned her gaze back to him, asking, "May I go to your dojo?" She paused and continued, "I don't know how many years I've been sealed, but now I feel that apart from my child, I have no more support or place to go. Joining your dojo, I will serve you in the future." Guin sighed inwardly. He could hear Fairy Yaoxian's hidden guesses. She determined he was the Emperor of Eternal Life. Fine, just write to let her child see his mother. In the future, leading Fairy Yaoxian to attain the primordial Tao Emperor, perhaps she would understand the relationship between the Emperor of Eternal Life and him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 740. Immortal Gods, Evil Thoughts. Fairy Yaoxian's arrival did not cause much of a stir at the Taoist field of the beginningless. With the increasing number of fourth-generation disciples, some disciples were still strangers to each other. Fairy Yaoxian was quite intrigued by the Taoist field of the beginningless. The spiritual energy and Tao intent here were the best she had ever encountered, making it truly a holy land for cultivation. Guin asked Shunjun to take Fairy Yaoxian to Fines A, while he returned to his room to observe the Xuanxiang Saint Mother's methods against the evil creature. Sure enough, the Xuanxiang Saint Mother subdued the evil creature and named it Xianyi. It is worth mentioning that the Xuanxiang Saint Mother did not introduce the celestial Tao destiny into Xian Yi's body, which made Guan speculate that she did not want this matter to be known by the celestial court. After subduing Xian Yi, the Xuanxiang Saint Mother flew towards the celestial extreme 9 heavens without encountering other immortal gods. Guan withdrew his gaze, closed his eyes, and began to ponder the path of cause and effect of the exile realm. How was such a place formed, and why did it give birth to an existence like Xian Yi? If the path of cause and effect can form Tao rules, so can other paths. Does that mean there are other existences similar to Xian Yi in other exile realms of different Tao? Given that the celestial Tao destiny is not omnipresent, the 3,000 great worlds are the central places for celestial Tao destiny. Beyond them, there are other realms for celestial Tao destiny, such as the primordial Emperor Domain, Misty Immortal Court, and Ling Mountain. However, there are many places outside the celestial Tao as well. Places like the Hongmeng Great World, Abyss Tao Sea, and Supreme Origin Forest that Guan had visited. At present, the cosmic planes outside the celestial Tao far surpass those within it. This means that the celestial Tao is far from encompassing the great Tao. Standing at the pinnacle of the celestial Tao, what do the celestial emperor and the celestial Tao venerables face, and do they have worries? While Guan was thinking divergently, Zui reunited with Fairy Yaoxian. Before Xinjun could introduce Fairy Yaoxian, Zui rushed to her. A mother-child reunion is always a heartwarming scene. Zui hugged his mother, wanting to share countless words, while Fairy Yaoxian, seeing that he was doing well, had a face full of smiles. In the days that followed, the relationship between Zui and Fairy Yaoxian became known. Zui was Gu An's youngest disciple, and all disciples of the Taoist field of the beginningless knew that Guan doted on him. No one expected Guan to go as far as to bring his mother back as well. Many disciples had their suspicions, but did not dare to voice them. Guan possessed great divine skills, so even if they spoke in the softest of whispers, he would likely hear them. Guan did not care much about the disciples' thoughts. Time would dilute all doubts. Although Fairy Yaoxian's realm had fallen to that of a Taoist Zhangzizai, Immortal, she was still an emperor of the great Tao. After arriving, her cultivation level grew rapidly. It is worth mentioning that Fairy Yaoxian saw, through Nzin's cultivation of the immortal emperor's eye, and proactively proposed a spar. Although neither emerged victorious, it put pressure on an Xian. An Xian would spar with Fairy Yaoxian every 1,000 years, until Fairy Yaoxian reached the profound Yuan-free immortal realm. An Xian was no longer her match. For an Xian to achieve the profound Yuan-free immortal realm, it required years of accumulated great Tao insights, while Fairy Yaoxian was merely regaining her former cultivation level. Fairy Yaoxian and an Xian developed a close relationship, which Guan considered a good thing. Following the Emperor of Eternal Life in battle for so many years, her understanding of the immortal emperors I would greatly benefit in Xian. Time flew by quickly. 1,000,000 years had passed since Fairy Yaoxian joined the Taoist field of the beginningless. In the morning, Guan stood by the lake. Practicing Tai Chi, his movements were slow but had the graceful beauty of floating clouds and flowing water. While practicing, he brought up his attribute panel. Name, Guan, lifespan, 6, 250, 704/450, 337, 945, 422, 651. Physique, primordial infinite creation Tao body, cultivation level, perfection of Xianqi primordial immortal realm, 4.5 trillion years of lifespan. He was halfway to the trillion-year mark, but Guan felt that the next breakthrough would require more than just 1 trillion years of lifespan. Fortunately, he had no strong enemies currently. With the eternal life, venerable Yang Jian, Li Xuanmiao, and other immortal gods around, he had a buffer with the celestial court, preventing enmity. Fighting and killing did not suit him. He preferred this leisurely and peaceful life, doing whatever he wanted while continuously growing stronger. For him, lifespan was like an experience bar in a game. Watching it grow assured him that he was on the right path to becoming stronger. Practicing Tai Chi was something he took interest in during his leisure time, using some fist techniques from his past life. After several rounds, this set of Tai Chi had evolved into a secret skill of the Immortal Tao in his hands. Every move and stance could shake the world. Start the novel, F.I.R. at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. A figure emerged from the woods behind him. It was Fairy Yao Xian, dressed in a white gown, exuding grace and an enigmatic demeanor despite her cold expression. Only Guan knew that Fairy Yao Xian had yet to reveal her true character. In the Emperor of Eternal Lives Memories, she was immensely combative and quite arrogant. Throughout their adventures, it was often the Emperor of Eternal Life who acted as the voice of reason. Perhaps her memories had not fully returned, or perhaps it was the sediment of years. But since arriving at the Taoist field of the beginningless, Fairy Yao Xian had behaved with great composure and the stature of a grand master. In a million years, she had established a high level of prestige. Except for Guan, no one knew her true nature. She stood quietly behind Guan, watching him. "Does the fairy have something to discuss?" Guan asked, without pausing his movements. Fairy Yao Xian spoke. "Between the Taoist Emperor and the Primordial Tao Emperor, who do you think is stronger?" She was certain Guan was the Emperor of Eternal Life, as he had once been a Taoist Emperor and now practiced as a Primordial Tao Emperor, which intrigued her. The Taoist field of the beginningless already had more than 10 Primordial Tao Emperors. Through them, Fairy Yao Xian learned the wonders of the Primordial Tao Emperor, which fascinated her. But she was already a Taoist Emperor and was unsure if she could directly cultivate the Primordial Tao Emperor or if she would need to abandon her Taoist Emperor destiny first. "Stronger or weaker depends on the individual cultivator," Guan replied. That was truly what he thought. Although the Primordial Tao Emperor seemed poised to surpass the Taoist Emperor, it was because its cultivation method was easier, at least without the need for constant combat, and failure didn't mean death. Even great powers would dislike constant battles within their own realm or higher. Fairy Yao Xian nodded slightly and continued. "During my years in exile, I witnessed countless scenes and captured many malicious thoughts involving the great cause and effect. Are you interested in hearing them?" "If you want to say it, then say it," Guan replied casually. As the Taoist field of the beginningless could isolate any cause and effect, discussions were not restricted here. Fairy Yao Xian fell silent for a moment, then said, "I saw the malicious thoughts of the heavenly court immortals. Some immortal gods wanted to perform a blood sacrifice of all living beings. Some wanted to seize the celestial emperor's throne, and what? And the malicious thoughts of the celestial emperor." Guan paused his movements, stood straight, and turned to face her. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 741, Zhang Buku's Obsession. That evil intention claims to be the Celestial Emperor. He is weary of everything he has created and hostile towards everything he possesses. He even wants to destroy the heavenly Tao itself. Such malice makes me feel terrified even now. If this evil intention truly comes from the Celestial Emperor, it will be an unimaginable catastrophe. Fairy Yao Xian spoke, her eyebrows furrowed, her eyes filled with worry. She had seen immortal gods and heard of myths about the Celestial Emperor. In the mythology of the 3,000 great worlds, the Celestial Emperor is a supreme existence. Some myths say the Celestial Emperor is the creator giant god of everything. In any myth, the Celestial Emperor is a top existence that cultivators can only look up to. Guan did not doubt Fairy Yao Xian's words. Instead, he found them plausible. The Celestial Emperor has been invincible for too many years, and the position of the Celestial Court is unshakable. Absolute power plus endless lifespan means he will get used to everything and everyone, and after getting used to them comes weariness and further, it might lead to hostility. Thinking about it now, the Celestial Emperor overlooks the conflict of the sons of heaven, perhaps just for amusement. Guin could foresee the direction of the sons of heaven's conflict. How much more could the Celestial Emperor? Knowing there was calamity, the Celestial Emperor still did not show up. Perhaps in the eyes of the Celestial Emperor, the calamity for all living beings was just a bit of fun. Of course, Guin found it possible, but until he saw the Celestial Emperor in person, he would not make any judgment about him. Why worry about things that have not yet happened? Even if it's true, what can you and I do? Guin looked at Fairy Yaoxian, trying to comfort her. Saw the novel Fire. Net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Xianxi Primordial Immortal can see a very distant future, but cannot see the end of the heavenly Tao, nor judge the fate of the great Tao. Fairy Yaoxian stared at Guin, saying, "You once pursued the path of cause and effect. Now your cultivation level is profound and unfathomable, yet you hide in this little world. Isn't it because you fear the celestial court?" Listening to Shun Jun, the Emperor of Eternal Life was once hunted by immortal gods and ultimately sacrificed himself into the great cause and effect steel. In Fairy Yaoxian's view, these events contributed to the present-day Guin. The Emperor of Eternal Life was so spirited, never knowing fear, acting bravely, even recklessly. Clearly, after entering the great cause and effect steel, the Emperor of Eternal Life did not die, but because of the immortal gods, he began to hide his identity, cultivating in a little world until now. After achieving great cultivation, he saved her immediately. Because of this, Fairy Yaoxian would not expose Guin's disguise. Since Guin feared the immortal gods, why create trouble? She only needed to inform him about the celestial court. Guin listened to Fairy Yaoxian's inner thoughts, feeling quite helpless. Really good at imagination, Guin solemnly said, "I have no grievances with the celestial court. No matter what you imagine, it's wrong. I enjoy my current life. I am not a combative person." Fairy Yaoxian responded, "I also focus on cultivation, enjoying the current life. If you want to learn about the celestial court, I have more information to share." "Well, that's not impossible," Guin pondered. He couldn't deduce the evil intention Fairy Yaoxian felt within the path of cause and effect. It could only be explained by her or recalled. Fairy Yaoxian smiled upon hearing this. Above the sea of clouds, the celestial calming god walked ahead, followed by 9 heavenly soldiers, including Zhang Buku and Su Yu. Millions of years passed, and the demeanor of Zhang Buku and Su Yu had undergone drastic changes, now possessing the demeanor of heavenly soldiers. Zhang Buku was communicating with Su Yu, curious about whom they were to meet this time. Probably going to meet the Star Monarch or Immortal Monarch. Su Yu responded through transmission, hearing Zhang Buku's eyes filled with curiosity. He had just begun to understand the celestial court, captivated by its hierarchical ranks. Since he aimed to ascend, he must strive upwards. If he could meet the Star Monarch or Immortal Monarch, that would be ideal. Of course, he was merely thinking. He currently lacked the qualifications to converse with the Star Monarch, let alone to meet the Immortal Monarch. "No matter whom we meet later, you must kneel. Understand?" The celestial, calming god's voice came from the front, stern. "Understood." The 9 heavenly soldiers responded in unison. This was the tacit understanding that had developed over millions of years of living together, and the celestial calming god's words also made them nervous. After walking for 1 stick of incense time, the celestial calming god suddenly knelt down. The 9 heavenly soldiers quickly followed, kneeling in a row behind him. Zhang Buku scanned the front. The boundless sea of clouds was vast and magnificent. There was not even a single building, let alone any sign of other immortal gods. "Where's the Star Monarch?" Zhang Buku was filled with confusion. At this moment, an awe-inspiring celestial might descended, causing the heavenly soldiers' expressions to change. They all looked up, their eyes wide, mouths agape. A giant golden mountain descended from the sky, bringing an overwhelming presence, smashing onto the sea of clouds, creating waves of air current. In front of this golden mountain, the 9 heavenly soldiers felt their chi blood vibrate, their hearts oppressed. Before they could think further, another golden mountain descended from the sky, followed by more golden mountains after it. Boom! 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 The world roared, trembling continuously as the golden mountains stacked together, quickly forming a heavenly ascension stairs, leading upwards indefinitely. Even though the 9 heavenly soldiers had reached the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm, they could not see the highest point. The heavenly ascension stairs is the only road to the heavenly realm. Even celestial gods are not privileged to step on it. Each stair holds immense celestial might, making it impossible to force through. Suyu's voice transmitted to Zhang Buku's ears. Zhang Buku dumbly stared at the heavenly ascension stairs, his heart shocked, his mind blank. The other 7 heavenly soldiers felt similarly. They had never seen such a breathtaking scene before, with the celestial might making their souls tremble, inducing an urge to bow. When the roar faded, Zhang Buku came to his senses. He saw a radiant light appear at the top of the heavenly ascension stairs, resembling a sun hanging above it. A figure slowly emerged from within, walking down the stairs. He couldn't see the true form of the figure, but his heartbeat echoed like war drums. A sudden determination arose within him. He wanted to ascend the heavenly ascension stairs. He wanted to become a true immortal god. He wanted to stand in the heavenly realm, looking down upon all heavens and myriad realms. His desire to ascend to immortality became unprecedentedly strong. The celestial calming god looked up silently, waiting for the immortal god to come down. The mysterious immortal god did not walk fast. As he passed more stairs, his form became immense, like the creator giant god from outer heaven descending to the human world, bringing immense pressure to the 9 heavenly soldiers. I am Yin Immortal Monarch. Are you the celestial calming god? A cold voice descended from the sky. Hearing this, the celestial calming god quickly responded, I am the celestial calming god. What does the immortal monarch command? His body was taut, seemingly not expecting to meet an immortal monarch. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 742, Lord of the Human Racine, Xian Immortal Monarch. Zhang Buku's heart tightened. The newcomer was an immortal god a step higher than a star monarch, which made him very nervous. As the other party continued to descend, the oppressive feeling he felt rapidly grew stronger. Now he could not even lift his head, let alone glimpse Xian Immortal Monarch's figure. How powerful was this? Zhang Buku could not imagine. Even though he was already considered knowledgeable and experienced, he was still shocked by Xian Immortal Monarch's overwhelming heavenly might. He could not help but wonder, compared to the mysterious great power that once suppressed their entire celestial army on the path of the great Tao, which one was stronger? Xian Immortal Monarch looked down at the celestial gods and heavenly soldiers below, expressionless, quite different from when facing Tai, Immortal Monarch. After a long while, Xian Immortal Monarch finally stopped his steps, still standing on the heavenly ascension stairs, far above the ground, like an unshakable giant mountain. Heavenly calming god, Huangfeng Immortal Monarch should have explained everything to you. Xian Immortal Monarch's voice sounded with a majestic tone. Heavenly calming god looked up and replied, He has explained it. We will do our best to support the human venerable. Human venerable? Zhang Buku was secretly curious. The human venerable should be one of the sons of heaven. Xian Immortal Monarch waved his hand, and a golden light descended from the sky, falling in front of the heavenly calming god. As the golden light dissipated, a golden pill the size of a pigeon egg appeared. Keep this pill safe. When the contest of the celestial suns begins, you will charge at the forefront. This pill will be your reliance. Ancient Immortal Monarch spoke again. The heavenly calming god seemed to know the origin of the pill and didn't ask further. After receiving the golden pill, he immediately saluted Ancient Immortal Monarch. Ancient Immortal Monarch said no more and turned to ascend, respectfully seeing off the Immortal Monarch. The heavenly calming god shouted loudly, followed by 9 heavenly soldiers. Their voices resounded through the sky. Ancient Immortal Monarch's footsteps on the heavenly ascension stairs were very heavy, like rolling thunder, louder than when he came. Vaguely, Zhang Buku seemed to hear countless celestial gods shouting, shaking his mind. Only when Ancient Immortal Monarch disappeared at the end of the heavenly ascension stairs, and the heavenly might dissipated, did Zhang Buku dare to look up. Under his gaze, the heavenly ascension stairs gradually became transparent, disappearing like a mirage. The heavenly calming god stood up, and the heavenly soldiers breathed a sigh of relief and stood up one after another. God Lord, is that human venerable the son of heaven we are to support? What is the immortal monarch's cultivation level? Such terrifying aura. I was tense all over just now and didn't dare move. Are we to charge forward? Is this good or bad? Of course it is good. We have the celestial court's destiny, immortal and indestructible. What's there to fear? This is our opportunity to earn merit. The heavenly soldiers asked in a flurry. They were smart, not asking about the golden pill. The heavenly calming god looked at them and said calmly, "It is indeed an opportunity to earn merit. We are serving the human venerable. The human venerable once trained in the 3,000 great worlds and was once the lord of the human race in one of the great worlds. He has a heart of compassion for all living beings. Only with him becoming the celestial emperor can the heavenly Tao continue on the right path. So, the upcoming Celestial Suns contest is not just for our benefit, but for the future of the heavenly Tao. Do you understand?" Upon hearing this, the heavenly soldiers all nodded seriously, except for Suyu, who slightly pouted. The heavenly calming god then walked back to their original path, followed closely by the 9 heavenly soldiers. Far away in the Taoist field of the beginningless, Gun was watching them. He was very concerned about this junior, Zhang Buku. Of course, this was also because Zhang Buku constantly thought about him. If Zhang Buku had long forgotten him, he wouldn't be paying so much attention. Zhang Buku's experience was just a microcosm. In the 3,000 great worlds, the movement of celestial gods was frequent, with star monarchs and immortal monarchs descending to the lower realm continuously, rapidly boosting the celestial Tao destiny of the 3,000 great worlds. The celestial Tao destiny not only enhanced nature's spiritual energy, but also helped cultivators of immortality to cultivate better. The beings of the 3,000 great worlds were unaware of the celestial god's struggle, thinking that their respective worlds were welcoming an unprecedented golden age. S.E. of the novel F. Ire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The celestial spirit Great World was also within the 3,000 great worlds. Its celestial Tao destiny was also on the rise, and the human world continuously produced talented individuals, which did not affect the 9-spirit continent. Guan withdrew his gaze and then looked at the mountains, wherein Zizai and Zue were suspended in the air. The two seemed motionless, but had already entered the domain created by Guan, engaging in combat. And Zizai had diligently cultivated the myriad supreme palm and had achieved some accomplishments. Guan had not passed this palm technique to anyone else. Different disciples would cultivate different Taoist techniques, and it wasn't necessary to pass everything to one person. Compared to Nzizai, Zue's mastery of divine skills was more extensive. To be precise, Zue had no weaknesses in any area, which was why no single divine skill stood out prominently. Even so, Zue was forcefully pressing Nzizai in combat. Guan was pondering whether to guide Zue in cultivating the immortal Emperor's eye, as it would be inheriting the legacy of the Emperor of eternal life. The immortal Emperor's eye could be directly transplanted, but Guin did not want to do that. He could only guide Zue to cultivate it and see if Zue had the destiny for it. An hour later, Zue and Nzazai opened their eyes at the same time, both panting heavily. Nzazai's face was quite unsightly. He didn't expect that his proud myriad supreme palm could do nothing against Zue. Zue was also shocked, not expecting a third-generation disciple to be so powerful. Nzazai, you are really formidable. Someday, you might surpass some second-generation disciples. Zue sincerely sighed. Since he had gone out with the blood prison great saint to train for 1,000 years, he was no longer so arrogant and had learned some worldly manners. He had to encourage his junior. Nzazai forced a smile and said, "I'm not that great." The two exchanged pleasantries and then flew towards Guin. "Zay, you can go back now. I need to teach Nzazai alone," Guin said. Hearing this, Zue was stunned for a moment and then left with a salute. Nzazai looked at Guin with a face full of guilt. Although Zue was his senior uncle, Zue had joined the dojo later than him. He had even watched Zue cultivate up close. Now being defeated by Zue, he felt he had disappointed his ancestors' expectations. Don't think too much about it. Whether one of you is stronger than the other, you are both family. Through sparring, finding your shortcomings, and improving together, that is the most important thing. Fellow disciples should always be family and not enemies. Understand? Guin said earnestly. Hearing this, Nzazai took a deep breath and nodded solemnly. Next, I will teach you the second palm of the myriad supreme palm, the myriad dragons ascending to heaven. This palm contains powerful sealing power, which can just make up for your current shortcomings. Guin's words filled Nzazai's eyes with anticipation. He immediately knelt and said in a solemn voice, "Disciple will strive to cultivate the myriad supreme palm. One day, I will make this palm renowned in the world, becoming the strongest secret skill in the universe." Guin nodded in satisfaction and said, "I appreciate your determination. In fact, I have great expectations for you. You might even be the disciple I look forward to the most in the beginningless lineage." These words made Nzazai's entire being ignite with passion, and his face turned visibly red with excitement. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 743 Mo Luo Clan, Chaos of Immortals and Demons in the Dark Depths of the Universe. Bolts of lightning appeared out of thin air, entwining and spreading. Faintly, a colossal entity was advancing, accompanied by lightning. The massive scales that resembled mountains reflected a cold, icy light. On the other end of the universe, countless meteorites gathered into a meteorite belt. Zhu Shi and a dozen cultivators stood on one of the meteorites, looking into the depths of the void, all frowning. What is that? The aura is so terrifying. It must have at least reached the level of a heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. It seems to be tearing apart the universe. Could it be that the battle for the Son of Heaven is about to start? The cultivators around Zhu Shi whispered to each other, all very tense. Since the unification of the Taiwei Great World, the Holy Court's main focus had been preparing for the battle, anticipating the inevitable struggle for the Son of Heaven. Today, they suddenly sensed an uninvited guest arriving in the Taiwei Great World, so they came to observe the situation. The Taiwei Great World also had immortal gods guarding it. As long as those immortal gods were not disturbed, it meant that the Taiwei Great World had not faced an apocalyptic disaster. What they needed to do was to prepare countermeasures in advance. Zhu Shi stared intently at the giant entity at the end of the void, wondering why its aura seemed somewhat familiar to her. There was one person, however, who saw through the origin and identity of this colossal entity. Guin's 70,000 years had passed since Guin taught Nzazai the second palm of the myriad supreme palm. Today, he was wandering through a city in the Taizong dynasty when he suddenly sensed that mysterious creatures were continuously invading the 3,000 great worlds. So he looked up. This demon and the demon god body have similar blood and flesh aura. Luo clan. Luo Qilin. Saw the novel Fire. T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan looked at the mysterious demonic creature infiltrating the Taiwei Great World and quickly calculated its cause and effect. The Luo clan comes from the edge of the Great Tao and is somewhat causally linked to chaos evil demons. There are countless forms within the Luo clan. The demon god bodies crafted by the immortal gods are derived from the flesh and blood of the Luo clan. And now, the mysterious creatures invading the 3,000 great worlds also come from the Luo clan, known as Luo Qilin. These Luo Qilin are all bound by invisible heavenly Tao lock chains. Their purpose is to station themselves within the great thousand worlds. From a macro perspective, Guan saw that not all great thousand worlds had Luo Qilin. Only half of them did. It appeared that this was a tactic of a certain son of heaven, deploying forces in advance. Guan deduced that the son of heaven manipulating the Luo Qilin was the great immortal divine Yuan. The great immortal divine Yuan relied on the combined forces of the Luo clan and the native cultivators of the great world, while Xin Yuan human venerable depended more on the heavenly soldiers and generals. In the future, when the two sides clashed, it would bring chaos between immortals and demons to the 3,000 great worlds. Guan quickly halted his deductions, wanting to leave some suspense for the future. Although the celestial spirit great world was not under the call of the sons of heaven, it was also part of the 3,000 great worlds and could not avoid catastrophe. At that time, the various sects would have to resist invaders from other great worlds and even face the havoc caused by demonic creatures and heavenly soldiers. At that time, Guan would also send out his Wushiji disciples for training. Mere secluded cultivation was not enough. Even for Guan, having undergone numerous lifespan reincarnations, he had accumulated battle experience unimaginable to ordinary people. Then, Guan withdrew his gaze and continued to walk down the streets of the human world. This city in the human world had cultivators, with the highest realm reaching the nascent soul realm, but it was still mostly inhabited by mortals. The streets were lined with various vendors, and it was the flower season, with numerous petals floating in the air, mingling with a special fragrance that was refreshing and delightful. As he walked, Guan noticed a group of children chasing and beating a small black dog. The dog's fur was dirty and matted, and it was limping, but the children found it amusing. Passers-by, though some glanced over, did not intervene. No one cared about the safety of a stray dog, thinking that children under 10 couldn't possibly harm it fatally. Guan initially did not pay attention, but the small black dog ran towards him, surprising him somewhat. Although he hadn't concealed his aura or presence, the small black dog choosing him was a kind of fate. The small black dog ran up to him, circling behind his legs, and the children coming after it stopped in their tracks, looking at him timidly. Guan's clean and elegant attire made him look unlike a common person, so the children naturally didn't dare offend him. The older children exchanged glances, then turned and ran, with the other children quickly following suit. Whimpering, the small black dog leaned against Guan's boot, whimpering pitifully. Guan glanced at it and then continued walking. The small black dog stayed in place for a moment, then limped to follow Guan. Guan didn't pay it any mind and continued to stroll. By dusk, he left the city, and the small black dog still followed, though it looked extremely exhausted, stumbling as it walked. After leaving the city, Guan entered the woods, and the distance between him and the small black dog gradually increased. Unknown time passed, and the small black dog finally couldn't hold on, collapsing on the ground, its eyelids growing heavy. It struggled to open and close its eyes. Seeing Guan squatting before it, an unusual light flickered in its eyes. Since you have such perseverance, I will help you shed your mortal form. But I hope you do not become what you now fear and despise. Guan's voice reached the small black dog's ears. Though it was ignorant, these words etched deeply into its heart. Drowsiness surged like a tide, quickly dragging its consciousness into darkness. Night fell. Guan returned to his courtyard. Shunjun, unusually, was not meditating before the artifact refining cauldron, but lay on the rocking chair where Guan usually lounged, reading a book. Seeing Guan return, she glanced at him and asked, "You seem to be in a good mood?" I did a good deed today, saved a little dog," Guan said with a smile, but these words made Shunjun feel awkward. With his immense cultivation level, capable of saving all living beings in an instant, now simply saving a dog could make him so happy. Shunjun always felt she understood Guan well, but sometimes she felt she didn't understand him at all. Perhaps her Tao practice was still insufficient, or maybe something more profound happened during the process of saving the dog. Guan ignored her and went straight into the room. The moon set and the sun rose, day after day. The Taoist field of the beginningless remained untroubled by worldly affairs. A year outside was like a day inside. Another 1,000,000 years passed. On this day, after picking medicinal herbs, Guan returned to the Taoist field of the beginningless. Midway up the mountain, he saw fourth-generation disciples gathered together, discussing the affairs of the world. They talked about a great demon that had unified half of the human world, a demon calling itself the Demon Emperor with a grand following, unsettling the 9 sects of the human world. It was said that the 9 sects were debating whether to eliminate this demon. This demon had not committed any evil deeds, but the gathered power of the demon race under it posed a significant threat. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 744. The Destiny of the Son of Heaven, the Demon Emperor, who is renowned throughout the world, is precisely the little black dog that Guan saved 1,000,000 years ago. He conducts himself with integrity, never bullying the weak, nor harming the human race, so his reputation is excellent. Not only does the demon race respect him, but many human race cultivators also admire him. Thus, the 9 major sects don't dare to act rashly. They must have a legitimate reason. All 9 sects of the world adhere to the righteous Tao. Acting in the name of the righteous Tao requires a justification, especially for matters like waging war and taking lives, which must have an unavoidable reason. The novel_fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan listened to the disciples' discussions and already foresaw the fate of the Demon Emperor. In a few years, the 9 major sects would suppress him, sealing him beneath a certain great mountain and dispersing his demon race forces. However, this would also sow the seeds of a future great war between the demon race and the human race in the celestial spirit great world. In the long years that followed, the demon race would continuously produce outstanding talents, one after another, attempting to rescue the Demon Emperor. This would leave behind many well-known legends, widely circulated even among the human race. Although the Demon Emperor's future would be bitter, this had nothing to do with Guan. A mere acquaintance was not enough for Gu and to consider him as one of his own. If he were to intervene again, it would be unfair to all living beings in the world. Guan allowed himself to have selfish intentions, but these intentions could not be misused. In fact, whenever he encountered people or events he couldn't tolerate during his travels, he would intervene. He wasn't the kind of great power who stayed aloof from matters that didn't concern him. As long as it didn't affect the destiny of a place, he would help those in suffering, whether humans or demons. Guan continued forward without disturbing the disciples. He walked up the mountain and returned to his courtyard. An Xian was rarely there, discussing the path of cause and effect with Shunjun. Seeing Guan return, an Xian immediately approached and said, "Master, if the 4th-generation disciples want to go out and train, should we allow it?" The earliest fourth-generation disciples have been cultivating in the Taoist field of the beginningless for millions of years and had already reached the Zai immortal realm. But without Gu An's order, the disciples didn't dare to go out, nor even dare to step into the world gate. Although they could travel around the nine-spirit continent, which also enjoyed the blessings of the dojo, in reality, there was a significant difference between the two. Wuxi was a holy land suspended above the nine-spirit continent, and many families wanted to send their offspring here, which required outstanding talent and destiny. When Guan allowed the fourth-generation disciples to take on their own disciples, it would undoubtedly stir up waves across the continent. They can go out, but must not enter the world gate. They must return within 10,000 years. If they start a family or fail to return on time, they won't be able to come back. Moreover, if they commit many evil deeds, Wuxi will cleanse the sect, whether they return or not. Guan casually replied. Every choice had its gains and losses. Wuxi disciples had already enjoyed privileges beyond the reach of the masses and couldn't have it all. He did this to give Wuxi disciples an opportunity to return to secular life. Going out to train for 10,000 years and seeing enough of the red dust, they could come back with a firmer will to pursue the Tao. An Xian nodded slightly upon hearing this. Master, actually, I'm thinking about whether to guide the disciples to open up their own worlds. This way, they won't need to go out and can experience the red dust in their own worlds. An Xian asked hesitantly. Zai immortals were not yet capable of creating real worlds, but at least it served as a goal. Guan answered, no need to guide them. They don't need hope. Pursuing immortal cultivation and seeking the Tao is a process of self-exploration. Their choices are theirs to bear. You must not become entangled in cause and effect. An Xian found this reasonable and gave up the idea. She had no other questions, saluted Guan, and continued her discussion with Shunjun. Guan did not disturb them, nor was he interested in listening. He returned to his room to read. During his recent trip to the human world, he had acquired several intriguing books, which he planned to savor overnight. In the brilliant starry sky, floating islands adorned with 7-colored clouds were surrounded by manifesting destiny, turning into dragons that soared continuously. This was the misty immortal court. Tianhao stood on a roof ridge wearing a white robe with gold embroidery, overlooking the grand vista of the misty immortal court. His brows were slightly furrowed, his eyes complex. Millions of years had passed, and Tianhao's momentum was even more imposing. Strands of chi force coiled around him, displaying the demeanor of the son of heaven perfectly. Who am I exactly? Tianhao muttered to himself. He had already recalled memories of his past life as an Hao, and his entire life floated within his mind, making him all the more grateful to Guan. Now, though far from the celestial spirit great world and carrying a mission, he couldn't easily return to repay his debt. Hence, he thought more about himself. He realized that an Hao was just one identity from his many past lives, with larger hidden connections of cause and effect, and a terrifying power deeply embedded within him. He looked up, his gaze seemingly piercing through the top of the universe. A figure appeared beside him, a white-haired elder in a yellow robe, tall and straight, standing beside him with equal momentum. Master, I seem to have found my destiny. Tianhao spoke softly, his gaze fixed upwards. The elder stroked his beard and smiled. Your destiny is for you to find, but many things can't just be thought about. You need to see them for yourself. Tianhao glanced at him and asked, Can I go to the celestial court now? If you truly face punishment, I doubt even your sheer luck will let you escape Kangshan scrutiny. What do you think? The elder replied with a cheerful smile. Upon hearing this, a subtle change occurred in Tianhao's eyes. He fell into an inner struggle. Now that the contest for the Son of Heaven is about to begin, though the misty immortal court is not within the 3,000 great worlds, it would still be implicated. You should leave. When the sons of heaven meet, destiny patterns will appear, forcibly returning you to your origin and wiping out your current will. The elder continued, his tone relaxed, as if discussing a trivial matter. Tian Hao was silent for a moment, then took a deep breath, turning to the elder. Master, if I regain my identity as the Son of Heaven and forget past kindness, won't it be unfair to you? The elder shook his head with a laugh. You're not my only disciple. Furthermore, being able to have the Son of Heaven as my disciple is a great honor for me beyond 3 lifetimes. For some reason, Tian Hao felt a bit disappointed in his heart upon hearing these words. He thought of Guan. That master would never say such things, at least not diminishing the stature of being a master. But he could also understand his current master's perspective. The entire misty, immortal court prided itself on attaining immortal positions in the celestial court, and he was the Son of Heaven. Naturally, they would flatter him. Perhaps it was truly time to leave. Since the spread of Tian Hao's identity as the Son of Heaven, he could clearly feel the overly enthusiastic attitudes around him, so passionate it felt unreal, making him want to escape. In that case, I shall go to the celestial court to face my true destiny, Tian Hao said with a firm voice, looking at the elder. He wanted to understand which Son of Heaven he truly was and what kind of past he had. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 745, Lifespan of 10 quadrillion years, Profound Abyss, Ancient Tree. The struggle of the Son of Heaven draws closer to the 3,000 great worlds, and for all living beings, the most apparent sign is the increase in mythical stories. Immortal gods are no longer just ethereal legends. In each great 1,000 world beyond the heavens, grand opportunities continuously appear, bringing boundless hope to the cultivators of the 3,000 great worlds. The immortal god's concept of time differs from that of mortal spirits. Even in the preparation stage, millions of years do not seem long. Time flies by. Millions of years turn a page in the giant book of time. More and more immortal gods begin to descend into the 3,000 great worlds. The world of the celestial spirit great world starts to become turbulent, not because of a struggle for the Son of Heaven, but due to the 9 major sects suppressing the demon emperor, causing upheaval in the demon race. On this day, deep in the sea, within the hidden spirit palace, Guan was picking medicinal herbs when his actions suddenly paused. Your lifespan has broken through the 10 trillion year mark for the first time. A random upgrade to lifespan functions will now commence. Your lifespan reincarnation function has been upgraded. Lifespan reincarnation upgraded successfully. Lifespan reincarnation. Perform reincarnation evolution, which will reflect in reality. Each session consumes 1 billion years of lifespan. All memories obtained during reincarnation will transmit into your mind as if experienced firsthand. There is no time limit to reincarnation evolution. It depends entirely on the choices made during causality. You can choose to reincarnate into the past, present, or future, or select a prior reincarnation body to reincarnate again. All reincarnations will retain lifespan evolution abilities, and merging memories with reality will take just an hour. Looking at the series of prompts before him, Guan squinted slightly. The consumption for lifespan reincarnation rising from 10 million to 1 billion years seems substantial, yet the actual content feels worth it. Choosing independently among the past, present, and future can circumvent many troubles, and selecting a prior reincarnation body for a new reincarnation can yield even more gains. For someone like Yang Xian, whose talent and comprehension are exceedingly high, if he reached the Xianxi primordial immortal realm, the fortune he would bring to Guan is far beyond what a billion-year lifespan evolution could offer. Of course, opening a new reincarnation would also generate more anticipation. Given his current lifespan, consuming 1 billion years of lifespan is no concern for Guan. Guan continued to pick medicinal herbs, preparing to initiate a lifespan reincarnation session after his current task, opting for a new reincarnation body rather than a previous one. To him, each new reincarnated life was akin to an epic and vast novel. Having not started a new one for a while, he was indeed feeling nostalgic. As for the causality brought by lifespan reincarnation, he now took it lightly, accepting or ignoring it at will, confident in facing any resultant effects. Continuous cultivation, striving for the summit of the great Tao, was not meant for servitude to all living beings. He had no desire to care for every world. Protecting his surroundings sufficiently was enough to live happily and freely. Thinking this way, perhaps immortal gods are too free, hence neglectful of all living beings. Guin suddenly considered this, but then thought it over and found it not entirely true. The immortal gods need the worship of all living beings. The celestial doubt destiny requires the faith of all beings, but he did not need it. Even when creating the primordial Tao Emperor Fortune, he did not require the faith and offerings of cultivators. His creations were more driven by personal interest. After a while, seeing that Guin had finished picking the herbs, the deep-sea dragon carp, who had been waiting by his side, approached. Having followed Guin for over 9 million years, the young and naive fish was now a venerable figure with the poise of an enlightened grandmaster. Occasionally, it would venture out to explore the world, gathering knowledge for future opportunities, something Guin permitted, not wanting to confine it here forever. The deep-sea dragon carp would go out, but never stay away for long, leaving avatars to manage the hidden spirit palace's various medicine gardens without mishap. "Master, have you heard about the demon emperor?" the deep-sea dragon carp asked cautiously. Guin asked offhandedly, "I've heard. What of it?" He began selecting herbs to bring back. Although he did not need medicinal herbs, the Wushiji disciple did, and his Tao fruit universe already had a massive stock of elixirs. Since cultivating herbs in the Tao fruit universe would drain his mana, not lifespan, he had no desire to cultivate it. For now, he used it only for storage. Don't you think the 9 major sects are too despicable? It's not because impartial to our demon race, but the demon emperor is a leader admired even by humans. He advocates for peaceful coexistence among all races, sharing the Tao, and even teaching human cultivators, saving those in distress. Such a demon was oppressed by the righteous Taoist sects for a feeble reason. The reason was apparently that the demon emperor's disciple's disciple killed one of their true disciples, and when negotiations failed, they had no choice but to wage war against the demon emperor. How absurd! The deep-sea dragon carp's tone grew indignant as it spoke. Guin smiled and said, "Indeed absurd, but what good is telling me? Do you expect me to uphold justice for the demon emperor?" The deep-sea dragon carp quickly shook its head, saying, "How could I dare think such a thing? It's just that the demon emperor seems promising. Maybe you could save him and bring him to the hidden spirit palace?" Sorry, the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Even the sea demons admired the demon emperor's deeds. He not only saved people, but demons. Before becoming the demon emperor, he roamed the world, eradicating evil and helping the weak. These stories were well known among the demon race, and the deep-sea dragon carp, having heard many, also grew fond of him. "I've never met him, so how could I accept him? You haven't genuinely ventured into the world. How can you understand a person from hearsay? Go out and train. You can even look for the demon emperor, but don't think of saving him." Guin chuckled softly. He too was quite pleased with the demon emperor. 2 million years ago, Guin had saved the demon before he became the demon emperor, speaking a few words that the demon held dear for a lifetime, practicing them faithfully till today, which was rare. Of course, pleased or not, it was not enough for Guin to intervene. From his perspective, the demon emperor would break free eventually, reaching greater realms and firmly establishing himself in the celestial spirit great world. The current tribulation was but a chapter in the demon emperor's life, one that he would overcome. The deep-sea dragon carp hesitated, truly wanting to seek out the demon emperor. "All right, I'm leaving. Think it over. If you want to go, leave an avatar and do not need to inform me." With these words, Guin vanished, leaving the deep-sea dragon carp in contemplation. Elsewhere, Guin arrived at a small island near the Immortal Seeking Island. Sitting on a reef, he faced the sea breeze and began his lifespan reincarnation. You have consumed 1 billion years of lifespan to start a reincarnation evolution. Please choose to reincarnate to either the past, present, or future. The past. Going to the past might reveal insights about the ancient celestial court, gathering useful information for the present. Reincarnating to the future offered unreliable intelligence, serving only cultivation and Tao enlightenment purposes. Would you like to select a previous reincarnation body for rebirth? No. Connecting to the Tao rules. Searching for reincarnation heavens and earth. You have the following options. Choose 1-1. Ling Mountain 2. Endless Jade Pool 3. Profound Abyss Divine Pool. These places all appeared imposing. Ling Mountain's grandeur was evident even to Guin, harboring Daluo immortals. However, Guin did not wish to become a monk. His gaze fell on the profound Abyss Divine Pool, which lay in the underworld, the land of reincarnation. He had never visited the underworld, but he saw its immense expanse, larger than all 3,000 great worlds combined. The underworld was not fully covered by celestial Tao destiny, proving the strength of the profound Abyss Divine Pool. You have chosen to reincarnate into the profound Abyss Divine Pool. This reincarnation will fully retain lifespan, seizing, and evolution abilities. Reincarnation evolution begins. Year 1, you are born in the other shore heaven as a profound abyss fruit on the profound abyss ancient tree. At 17, a ghost immortal comes to the profound abyss ancient tree for enlightenment, and you observe his actions with curiosity. At 102, you watch this ghost immortal cultivate divine skills, silently noting all his techniques. At 227, the ghost immortal departs, and you gradually comprehend the chi absorption technique. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 746, Gu Xian, Profound Abyss. Tai how profound abyss fruit? How did I get reincarnated as a fruit? Guin looked at the prompt before him, feeling that he would spend the next several thousand years stuck on a tree, without any choice in the matter. This is quite novel. Guin continued to read on, with prompts continuously appearing. As the profound abyss fruit, he encountered various passers-by in the ensuing years. There were ghost immortals, demons, as well as humans. So just passed by, while others, like that ghost immortal, lingered. But the wait lasted longer than he anticipated. Over 10,000 years passed, and he was still a profound abyss fruit. At the age of 12,732, you comprehended nature's essence and grasped the path of yin and yang, enhancing your Tao practice. At the age of 12,803, a torrential rain fell under the celestial vault. Never having felt rain before, you reveled in the downpour, refining your physical body. At the age of 13,146, swaying in the wind, you detached from the vine and fell to the ground. With nature's spiritual energy converging around you, you began transformation. Please choose your gender. The prompt paused here, and Guin furrowed his brow. Don't need to choose. Male. Guin made his decision. Over the past tens of thousands of years, as a transformed fruit, he had observed the difference between the sexes, likely contemplating this for years. After choosing, his reincarnation body gestated for a full 100 years before the transformation succeeded, and he comprehended his innate divine ability, the profound abyss yin-yang shield. He also took a branch from the profound abyss ancient tree, transforming it into a long staff, and set off to explore other shore heaven. Saw the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At the age of 13,307, you encountered a lonely wild ghost who claimed to be chased by the 9 Yin Divine Mansion and advised you to change your route to avoid them. Do you choose to evade the 9 Divine Mansion? Yes. In a previous life as the Black Profound Emperor, Guin had experienced the power of the 9 Divine Mansion. Most of their ghost immortals surpassed the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. With Gu An's current Tao practice, he couldn't grasp the entirety of the underworld, but could sense the presence of Daluo immortals within the 9 Divine Mansion. The barriers of the path of Yin and Yang were truly formidable, preventing the celestial Tao destiny from fully encompassing the underworld. A newly transformed profound abyss fruit would be no match for the 9 Divine Mansion. You chose to trust the wild ghost's advice. After a long conversation, you decided to visit other shore city as mentioned. The wild ghost wanted to accompany you. Do you agree? No. You rejected its request, but it persisted, and you couldn't drive it away. You learned its name. It called itself Go Sanlang. After some conflict, you decided to name yourself Gu Xian, since you were born from the profound abyss ancient tree. At the age of 13,315, you entered Other Shore City with Go Sanlang. In the same year, you met a cultivator named Zhu Tian Daoist, who claimed to be from Other Shore Heaven. He saw through your essence as a profound abyss fruit and wanted to bring you to Other Shore Heaven for cultivation. Do you agree? Yes. Guin thought that someone who could discern his essence would not be someone he could resist. If they bore ill intentions, refusing would only cause trouble. Besides, Gu Xian, you needed Taoist technique to truly start immortal cultivation. Having lived for over 10,000 years, Gu Xian, you had not yet seized any lifespan. Other Shore Heaven appeared peaceful, indicating a strong foundation. However, in Gu An's time, there was no power named Other Shore Heaven. Even observing the underworld now, he couldn't see Other Shore Heaven. This suggests Other Shore Heaven might perish. That would be good. After Gu Xianyu's cultivation succeeds, and he departs, if Other Shore Heaven then perishes, many causes and effects could be hidden. Of course, the demise of Other Shore Heaven might relate to Gu Xianyu. Time would tell. You accepted Zhu Tian Daoist's invitation and followed him to Other Shore Heaven with Go Sanlang. Along the way, you gained much knowledge and looked forward to your new life. Upon entering the Chi Fortune Dojo in Other Shore Heaven, Zhu Tian Daoist took you to meet the Other Shore Emperor. Apparently, upon your birth, the Other Shore Emperor foresaw your connection and decided to personally take you as a disciple. At the age of 13,316, the Other Shore Emperor taught you the Other Shore Heavenly God skill, saying it was the Taoist technique most suited for you. The subsequent prompts were all about cultivation. Not only Gu Xianyu, but also Go Sanlang was cultivating. The Other Shore Emperor also taught it a divine skill, making it swear eternal servitude to Gu Xianyu. Guin felt a sense of gratitude. His reincarnation body always found good mentors. For now, the Other Shore Emperor seemed sincere. If he wanted the profound abyss fruit, there was no need for such elaborate effort. This cultivation lasted for 100,000 years. After 100,000 years, Gu Xianyu had reached the profound yuan-free immortal realm. That year, the Other Shore Emperor sent Gu Xianyu to train at the 9 Divine Mansion, accompanied by other disciples from Other Shore Heaven. Other Shore Heaven and 9 Divine Mansion were neighboring underworld Tao courts with a cordial relationship, often exchanging disciples to foster communication. When they arrived at the 9 Divine Mansion, no mishaps occurred, leaving Guin without choices to make. After entering the 9 Divine Mansion, Gu Xianyu stayed for several years before heading to the Netherworld alone for training. Shortly after arriving at the Netherworld, he befriended a fellow Taoist named Tai Hao. The two bonded instantly, and Tai Hao invited Gu Xianyu to explore the Netherworld for treasures, claiming there was an ancient treasure left by a great power. Guin finally faced a choice. What treasure? The Netherworld was far from safe. From his current vantage, Guin could see terrible power of reincarnation in its depths, which could affect even the Miao Zhendaluo Immortal if they lingered. He declined Tai Hao's invitation. You rejected Tai Hao's invitation. Tai Hao wasn't angry, telling you to wait by the river before diving into the netherworld. This filled you with admiration for him. Tai Hao's bold spirit captivated you, making you yearn to be like him. You began meditating by the netherworld, commencing cultivation. At the age of 116,542, you were suddenly attacked while cultivating. The assailants were two cultivators from the Nine Divine Mansion who coveted your ghost slave, Ghost Sanlang. Forced to retaliate, after a strenuous battle, you narrowly killed the two Nine Divine Mansion disciples. You discovered you could seize lifespan, and after some research, used it to elevate the Other Shore Heavenly God skill, achieving a breakthrough in mastery, subtly changing your mindset. At the age of 116,552, three more disciples from the Nine Divine Mansion arrived, questioning whether you killed their two junior disciples. You chose to strike first, eliminating them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 747. Nine Heaven's True Dragon, Chi make a move directly? Ia, the novel fire. T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan raised an eyebrow slightly. From just a few words, he could sense the changes in Gu Xian. Gu Xian was not like this before. He wouldn't even fight, let alone kill. After killing three Nine Divine Mansion disciples again, Gu Xian chose to leave and cultivate in another place. His skill broke through in the same year, obviously using his lifespan evolution ability. It seems Gu Xian is becoming obsessed with the ability to evolve his lifespan. In the subsequent years, beings from the Nine Divine Mansion came to investigate the deaths of those two disciples constantly. As long as Gu Xian heard their questions, he would kill them directly. There were even times when people knelt and begged for his mercy. Although Guan did not agree with his change, it had come to this, and killing was the only option left. Gu Xian had thoroughly opposed the Nine Divine Mansion. By the time Guan had a choice, he had already killed more than 10 disciples of the Nine Divine Mansion. Even if he chose to show mercy then, the Nine Divine Mansion would not have spared him. It looked like Gu Xian was set to become the next Long Zhan, but countless times stronger. Guan carefully monitored the prompts. If Gu Xian's killing spree continued, he would have to find a way to end his life. But unfortunately, all he could do was choose yes or no. He couldn't decide Gu Xian's life and death directly. Fortunately, Gu Xian was not as evil as he had imagined. At the age of 116,722, you encountered a group of people being pursued by evil spirits. You chose to save them, and later learned from them about another half of the world. You were filled with curiosity about the mortal world, so you left the underworld with them. At the age of 116,726, you arrived at the Taiyuan Great World of the mortal world, and at the invitation of those people, you visited the Erosion Moon sect. At the age of 116,727, the female cultivator Yin Yueshi you saved in the underworld confessed to you, hoping to marry you. Do you accept? No. Already extreme and still in love? If something happened to this female cultivator named Yin Yueshi, wouldn't Gu Xian go mad? For the sake of all living beings, Guan refused this marriage on behalf of Gu Xian. You refused Yin Yuex's confession. Yin Yueshi begged bitterly, but you were unmoved. Finally, Yin Yueshi, in a rage, cursed you venomously, saying you humiliated her and she would repay you tenfold. Crazy. Rejecting you is humiliating you? Why don't you remember the favor of saving your life? Guan laughed, thinking that this woman named Yin Yueshi was no good. Fortunately, he refused. If she had married Gu Xian, who knows how much trouble would follow. Reincarnation continued, and prompts kept popping up. Gu Xian left the Erosion Moon sect and traveled through the Taiyuan Great World with Gu Sanlang. If anyone troubled him, he killed them directly. But if he encountered someone in distress, whether human, demon, or ghost soul, he would help. Good and evil coexisted, making it hard to judge his nature for the moment. The next life experiences, every scene possible unfolded, which was no longer new to Guin. He could clearly feel Gu Xian growing stronger rapidly. In less than 1,000 years since arriving in the mortal world, this guy was about to break through to the heaven-encompassing, free, immortal realm. The growth rate was truly terrifying. The commotion caused by his breakthrough was not small, attracting many strong figures from the Taoyuan Great World to watch. Some even attacked him directly, only to be killed by him, and eventually, it led to the appearance of innate golden immortals. Although Gu Xian was no match for the innate golden immortal, he used his innate divine ability, profound abyss Yin guard, to escape through the void to outer heaven. Thus, Gu Xian began to hide again. Grudges, once formed, truly have no end. After arriving at outer heaven, the dangers increased and the enemies were stronger, but Gu Xian's growth rate did not slow down. He crossed into the innate golden immortal realm at less than 300,000 years old, and this was without wantonly slaughtering living beings. At just over 500,000 years old, Gu Xian stepped into the heaven-balancing golden immortal realm, and then returned to the underworld with Gue Sanlang, who had also grown strong. He came to the banks of the Yellow Springs River, looking at the ceaseless flowing yellow springs, reminiscing about the past. Not expecting before he left, a figure shot out from the yellow springs, landing before him. It was Tai Hao, who had invited him to the yellow springs in search of treasures. What Gu Xian and Tai Hao talked about, Guin did not know, but from the prompts, it seemed that they were very happy to be reunited after a long time. Tai Hao revealed that the Nine Divine Mansion monopolized the power of reincarnation, hindering the soul's rebirth. Their sins were beyond measure. He wanted to invite Gu Xian to join him in opposing the Nine Divine Mansion, killing the one who hindered reincarnation. Guin got a chance to choose. This time, he didn't choose to avoid the crisis. Gu Xian had lived so long, only relying on the other shore heavenly god skill and profound abyss Yin guard. Guin felt it was worth a lifespan of 1 billion years, considered it paid off. From then on, he could venture freely, whether he died early or not mattered less, causing fewer killings. So, Gu Xian agreed to Tai Hao's invitation and went with him to the Nine Divine Mansion. This made Tai Hao very happy, and they even became sworn brothers. They're all restless souls. Guin sighed in his heart, as if foreseeing the tragedy. After all, the Nine Divine Mansion still ruled the land of reincarnation in the underworld, while the other shore heaven had ceased to exist. At the age of 501,372, Yu and Tai Hao reached the reincarnation heaven pool of the Nine Divine Mansion. Yu encountered the Taiyin reversed dragon guarding the pool. Tai Hao made the first move, and Yu had to assist. Eventually, Yu killed the Taiyin reverse dragon and obtained the reincarnation heaven lotus in the pool. At the age of 501,373, the Nine Divine Mansion sensed your disturbance and sent a large number of disciples to besiege you. It was only then you realized Tai Hao's true strength far exceeded yours. After a great battle, Tai Hao took you and escaped the reincarnation heaven pool, reaching the other side of the underworld, where you rested beneath a Yin tree. At the age of 501,374, Tai Hao insisted on teaching you a divine skill called Nine Heavens True Dragon Chi. You mastered it in the same year, surprising Tai Hao greatly. At the age of 501,380, you and Tai Hao attacked the Nine Divine Mansion again, encountering them forging billions of souls into 6 paths ghost artifacts. Displeased, you intervened, leading to a great battle. During the battle, you chose to break through, and a massive lightning from the great Tao descended upon the Nine Divine Mansion. You reached the Tai Ching Golden Immortal Realm, but also attracted the strongest of the Nine Divine Mansion. Despite you and Taihao's best efforts, you were subdued under a great array. At the critical moment, a powerful mana transported you away. You fell into a coma, and upon waking, you were shocked to discover the powerful being who saved you and your brother was your master, the Other Shore Emperor. The Other Shore Emperor revealed that the Nine Divine Mansion had committed countless atrocities, disrupting the Six Paths order. The Other Shore Heaven decided to overthrow the Nine Divine Mansion's rule. He had already appealed to the Tsangtian, requesting help from immortal gods. Before the immortal gods arrived, he hoped you and Taihao would cultivate first and not act rashly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 748. Against the Immortal Gods. After being saved by the Other Shore Emperor, Gu Xian and Taihao no longer ventured out, focusing on their cultivation steadfastly. However, when it involved immortal gods, Guan always felt things wouldn't be simple and surely wouldn't go smoothly. The facts were as he anticipated. Gu Xian and Taihao cultivated for 1,000 years, and then immortal gods descended upon the land of reincarnation. At the age of 52,392, immortal gods descended upon the land of reincarnation. The Other Shore Emperor led you and Taihao to invade the Nine Divine Mansion. As the battle commenced, disciples from Other Shore Heaven also joined in, causing the Nine Divine Mansion to fall into a passive state. You began a killing spree, continuously enhancing your comprehension of the Other Shore Heavenly God skill. In the same year, the immortal gods suddenly turned against you, joining forces with the Nine Divine Mansion to besiege Other Shore Heaven. Before your master, the Other Shore Emperor, died, he sent you and Taihao away. You and Taihao fell into reincarnation. You landed in a mortal world, regaining consciousness and vowing to avenge the immortal gods. The immortal gods turned against them, indicating it was a plot against Other Shore Heaven. Alternatively, it could be that the Nine Divine Mansion had convinced the Celestial Court during the millennium that the Other Shore Emperor was waiting. Although Gu Xian was involved in the downfall of Other Shore Heaven, it wasn't due to him. It was the result of the power struggle between the two forces with the Celestial Court. Guan had only one feeling after reading it. Weakness is the original sin. The powerful immortal gods showed no mercy, changing their stance without hesitation. Stimulated by this, Gu Xian began to crazily seek power. He destroyed the temples and shrines of immortal gods wherever he went, killing anyone who dared to obstruct him. This naturally led to him attracting the enmity of celestial gods within a few hundred years. Now, no celestial god could match him. His path was paved with slaughter purely out of revenge, which also offered Guan a choice. Gu Xian started traveling to all heavens and myriad realms, targeting celestial gods specifically, as they were the easiest immortal gods for him to find. They existed in every great thousand world. The title of Immortal Slayer began to spread. At the age of 99,866, you entered Nine Elements' Great World for the first time and encountered a group of cultivators besieged by cosmic evil demons. You intervened to save them, and one of the female cultivators called out your name. You then realized it was Yin Yueshi, whom you had rejected back then. Reuniting after a long time, you found her temperament had drastically changed. No longer as reckless as before, but very steady. She wanted to apologize, saying her words back then were nonsense. At her invitation, you headed towards the main world of Nine Elements' Great World, Yin Yueshi. Seeing her change in attitude, Guan was somewhat pleased. Of course, even if she suddenly turned against Gu Xian and plotted against him, he wouldn't mind. Surviving until now was already profitable. Anything further was just a gain. After arriving at Nine Elements' Great World, the sect of Yin Yueshi and others faced troubles from their enemies, even leading to fierce confrontations. Gu Xian couldn't stand it, intervening directly, using bloodshed to instill fear. Subsequently, he started a killing spree in 9 Elements' great world, targeting either Yin Ux's enemies or followers of celestial gods, forcing the immortal gods to reveal themselves. But he was at the Taichin Golden Immortal Realm, and with his past achievements, the celestial gods in 9 Elements' great world hesitated to face him. When the celestial gods finally appeared, they brought a celestial army. Even immortal monarchs joined the fray. The epic battle shook the entire great world. In the same year, Gu Xian traversed several great thousand worlds, constantly pursued by immortal gods, locked in relentless conflict. It was only until the following year that Gu Xian astonishingly chose to break through during battle, achieving the heaven-opening Daluo Immortal Realm. The immense thunder of the great Dao annihilated millions of heavenly soldiers, forcing out an even more powerful immortal god. A mysterious giant hand crossed time and space, seriously injuring Gu Xian, who had just reached the heaven-opening Daluo Immortal Realm. At the critical moment, Taihao appeared and rescued Gu Xian, the two of them escaping to the underworld once again. Gu Xian now harbored immense hatred towards immortal gods, beginning a relentless killing spree of any beings that accidentally wandered into the underworld. Taihao couldn't stop him, but remained by his side. After 10,000 years, Gu Xian reached the Miao Zhandaluo Immortal Realm, shaking the entire underworld. Numerous great powers came to visit him. Even the 9 Yin Divine Mansion sent people, who were immediately killed by him. After the visitors dispersed, Taihao challenged him, wanting to spar. Guan then faced the choice of whether to accept the challenge. He unhesitatingly chose to accept, believing from previous hints that Taihao was extraordinary. Being able to save Gu Xian from immortal gods was evidence enough of his prowess, making it an ideal opportunity to gauge his strength. Thus, Gu Xian began a fierce battle with Taihao. This battle lasted over 10,000 years without yielding a winner. During their combat, they also wreaked havoc upon the 9 Yin Divine Mansion and eventually fell into the netherworld. During the combat, Gu Xian's Other Shore Heavenly God skill, Profound Abyss Yin Yang Guard, and 9 Heavens True Dragon Qi continuously improved, evidently utilizing lifespan to evolve abilities. Yet despite this, Gu Xian didn't gain an advantage over Taihao, according to the prompts. This guy is indeed strong. His name carries how, CTH Nellfire. Inti website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan raised his eyebrows, deep in thought. Sharing a name isn't much, but at higher realms the taboo becomes greater. Someone at Taihao's realm wouldn't easily use Hao as part of their name. Could Taihao have a connection with the Celestial Court? The more he thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. Gu Xian survived 2 immortal god sieges with Taihao present each time. At the age of 110,271, Taihao halts the battle, declaring it a draw. Do you accept? Yes. You chose to accept. Taihao praised your talent and comprehension as the strongest he has ever seen, agreeing to spar again after surpassing the Daluo Immortal Realm. You happily agreed. Afterwards, you two decided to rest for 100 years and then completely flatten the 9 Yin Divine Mansion. At the age of 110,371, you and Taihao descended upon the 9 Yin Divine Mansion, destroying it. As you prepare to wipe them out, a Dao Extreme Daluo Immortal arrived. Feeling he wasn't an opponent, Taihao pulled you away, and you two left the underworld, arriving in the mortal world. At the age of 110,372, you and Taihao arrived at the Taisher Great World, which was being ravaged by chaos evil demons. You chose to intervene, and within less than half a year, you eradicated the chaos evil demons in this world. At the age of 110,399, you and Taihao arrived at Abyss Dao Sea and discovered a spiritual spring by chance. You chose to bathe there, strengthening your bodies. Ghost Third Brother's ghost body also transformed. At the age of 110,653, you and Taihao left Abyss Dao Sea, entering the path of the Great Tao. You encountered the birth of a Taoist emperor who, noticing your formidable aura, chose to attack you. You killed him fiercely, offending his sect behind him. With others using divine sense, they threatened to consign you to eternal damnation. At the age of 110,701, the Donglan Emperor clan descended upon the path of the Great Tao, besieging you too. In the end, you and Taihao slaughtered thousands of cultivators from the Donglan Emperor clan. At the age of 110,702, you arrived at Primordial Emperor Domain and exterminated the Donglan Emperor clan. In the same year, your Other Shore Heavenly God skill reached a new level of achievement. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 749. All are reincarnation bodies again, the Primordial Emperor Domain. There are indeed many Emperor clans in the Primordial Emperor Domain. Now Guan can see the Primordial Emperor Domain clearly. It indeed has deep foundations, but there are no supreme experts in the Primordial Emperor Domain. Not to mention Xianxi Primordial Immortal. Even a number of Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortals is less than 5. Of course, possessing Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortals alone is enough to prove the strength of the Primordial Emperor Domain. After exterminating the Donglan Emperor clan, Gu Xianyu and Taihao began to travel through the Primordial Emperor Domain. The days that followed were relatively peaceful, as the Primordial Emperor Domain had no celestial gods to guard it, so Gu Xianyu didn't go on a killing spree. In the subsequent tips, Guan watched them travel around, make many friends, and continuously encounter female cultivators and female demons, showing goodwill towards them. Gu Xianyu refused, and Taihao also refused, as if it were a competition. After experiencing so much, the relationship between the two grew closer. After leaving the Primordial Emperor Domain, they still traveled together, traversing the heavens, and more names of the Great Thousand Worlds appeared in the tips. Gu Zuanyu's realm also stagnated. To be precise, it returned to a normal rate of becoming stronger, remaining in the Miaozhen Daoyuo Immortal realm for a long time. The two went to the Dao fields of great powers to listen to Dao, benefiting immensely, and Taihao even created new divine skills, which he passed on to Gu Xianyu. Gu Xianyu wasn't as creative as Taihao. He invested his life, span, evolution into the Other Shore Heavenly God skill and profound Abyss Yin and Yang protection. The Nine Heavens True Dragon Qi also improved, but its frequency in the tips was clearly lower than the other two. At this rate, it's hard to die. While rejecting a Miaozhen Daoyuo Immortal female expert for Gu Xianyu, Guan sighed. The sea breeze blew gently, and sitting on the reef, he couldn't help but stretch lazily. The smoothness of this life made him feel somewhat bored, but he could only wait. The age in the tips rapidly increased, and even after tens of millions of years, Gu Xianyu did not encounter any sieges by immortal gods. However, his cultivation realm had reached the Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal. He was inseparable from Taihao, going everywhere together. They visited the endless Dao mountain to listen to the Dao, gaining great fame and receiving exalted titles from the ancient great powers of the endless Dao mountain, being called the two great saints of the great Dao. CTH Novelfire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This ancient great power was called the Supreme Sect Master, whose cultivation was unfathomable, and even Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortals bowed to him. In the current Endless Dao Mountain, Guan hadn't heard of this name. The Supreme Sect Master openly declared in the Dao field that Gu Xianyu and Taihao had the potential to become saints. The potential to become saints? Guan was somewhat curious, but from the tips, he couldn't understand what the potential to become saints was. After being bestowed with their titles by the Supreme Sect Master, Gu Xianyu and Taihao's fame spread far and wide. Wherever they went, great powers from various sects and clans came to welcome them, leading to much less conflict. It wasn't until Gu Xianyu was over 100 million years old that he experienced only a few major battles, and his cultivation realm still remained at the Dao extreme, Daoyuo Immortal. He seemed to be no longer in a hurry and no longer relied on lifespan evolution abilities. When approaching 200 million years old, Gu Xianyu encountered Yin Yueshi again. Even after so many years, her affection for him hadn't changed, and she even wanted to leave her sect to travel the heavens with him. This time, Guan agreed because he saw that Gu Zuanyu's mental state had changed in the tips. Reaching this realm, if he still refused his beloved for fear of trouble, it would indeed be too pathetic. Yin Yuex's joining greatly displeased Tai Hao, leading to many arguments between the two, often stopped by Gu Zuanyu's words. Yin Yueshi hoped Gu Xianyu could stop, marry her, and become Dao companions. Tai Hao, however, believed that the Great Dao is long and that one should not stop before seeing the end of the Great Dao. This argument persisted until the arrival of the immortal gods. Countless immortal gods descended, surrounding the three, and even several supreme immortals joined the fray. After fighting for hundreds of years, Yin Yueshi was captured. The immortal gods threatened Gu Xianyu to surrender. This time, Guvan had no choice, indicating that Gu Xianyu had no hesitation in his heart. He told Tai Hao to escape alone, then walked towards the supreme immortals. Ultimately, he was captured by the immortal gods. Guvan thought it was the end for him, but the tips continued. He was brought to the celestial court, where celestial Dao Venerable ordered him to be thrown into the heavenly prison. He began meditating and seeking enlightenment in the heavenly prison. During this time, many immortal gods came to recruit him, some for the Son of Heaven, others for the celestial Dao Venerable, but Guan refused them all. Now, Guan only wished for Gu Xianyu to end his life soon, to avoid exposing his life-span-stealing ability. However, the celestial court wouldn't kill him. After being suppressed for tens of millions of years, someone came to visit him, and it was Yin Yueshi. She had already ascended to the immortal class, becoming a celestial god in the celestial court. She persuaded Gu Xianyu to submit, saying the celestial court was invincible, and even the strongest beings had to be bound by the heavenly Dao. Gu Xianyu thought of his deceased master and the slaughtered other shore heaven. Despite his beloved's persuasion, he still refused to bow his head. No matter how she tried, Gu Xianyu remained adamant. Yin Yueshi became very angry, warning him harshly, which reminded Guan of the time Gu Xianyu first rejected her. Although this time Yin Yueshi was concerned about Gu Zuanyu's life and death, Guan felt she did not understand Gu Xianyu. If Guan felt this way, how much more so would Gu Xianyu, who directly faced Yin Yueshi? In the endless years in the heavenly prison, the tips became simpler. Whether it was cultivation, Dao techniques, or divine skills, it took many years to progress. Even in 100 billion years, Gu Xianyu still hadn't surpassed the Dao extreme Daoyuo immortal realm. That year, the heavenly prison shook. The tips revealed a world-shaking fierce demon was causing havoc in the celestial court, heading towards the heavenly prison, destroying its formation and allowing those suppressed strong beings, including Gu Xianyu, to escape. After escaping the heavenly prison, Gu Xianyu saw the fierce demon's figure. The demon's strength greatly shocked him, making him feel it was an opportunity. So, instead of fleeing the celestial court, he chose to cause chaos with the demon, killing as many immortal gods as possible to avenge his master. But immortal gods can't be killed. They always revive. Even Dao extreme Daoyuo immortals feel powerless in endless battles. Finally, 3 celestial Dao venerables descended to capture the fierce demon. Gu Xianyu also prepared himself for death. Before dying, he glanced at Yin Yueshi, standing among the vast army of immortal gods, looking down at him with resentment, seemingly blaming his choice. In the tips, Gu Zuanyu's heart felt no bitterness. Instead, he felt relieved and had no regrets. At the critical moment, a terrifying power peers through the celestial court's destiny, saving Gu Xianyu. The one who saved him was Tai Hao. Tai Hao took Gu Xianyu to chaos, surviving even this. Guan felt a bit helpless. 100 billion years of life memories must be so long. The inheritance process must be exhausting, especially since Gu Xianyu hadn't died yet, and the weight of the memories kept increasing. After escaping the range of the heavenly Tao, Tai Hao stood in the chaos void and looked at you. His expression made you feel unfamiliar. Tai Hao said he was very disappointed in you, thinking you were held back by romantic feelings. Without Yin Yueshi, you wouldn't have ended up like this. He couldn't stand your current state and challenged you to a life and death duel. Looking into his eyes, you knew he was serious, and you accepted the challenge. After an epic battle lasting 1 billion years in the collapsing and chaotic Great Tao Void, you and Tai Hao perished together. Before your consciousness completely dissipated, you realized that you were just a reincarnation body. Not only you, but Tai Hao was also a reincarnation body of some existence, emitting a celestial Tao destiny far surpassing the celestial Tao Venerable. Meeting Tai Hao's gaze, you seemed to comprehend that your battle would continue. You are killed. Reincarnation ends. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 750. The Meaning of Reincarnation. It's finally over. Guan looked at the last prompt, feeling emotional in his heart. But regarding Gu Xian's feelings before his death, he felt a bit uneasy. The heavenly Tao destiny that far surpassed the celestial Tao Venerable. Why did it sound so much like the Celestial Emperor? The Celestial Emperor had been in seclusion for many years. Creating billions of reincarnation bodies was normal. Thinking about it carefully, as long as Tai Hao was there, they could always escape from the siege of the immortal gods. As Guan was contemplating, a vast and boundless memory flooded into his mind. He didn't move or activate the lifespan barrier. Although the inherited memories would absorb spiritual energy, the celestial spirit great world had long since transformed. The nature's spiritual energy far surpassed the past, making a little commotion wasn't an issue. Moreover, even if the beings of the celestial spirit great world came nearby, they would be unable to perceive his existence with the naked eye. In the process of integrating the memories, Guan walked once again through Gu Xian's memories. Compared with the previous cycles of reincarnation, Gu Xian's life experiences were different from others. Born of the profound abyss fruit, he was insensitive to time, and his concepts and cognitions were above the human world. Gu Xian's innate divine ability, the profound abyss yin-yang shield, was very powerful. It formed a protective qi with the profound abyss qi and the path of yin and yang. This qi could counteract enemy attacks and allow him to traverse space, a divine skill for both offense and defense. The Other Shore heavenly god skill, taught by the Other Shore Emperor, was also a remarkable creation. The Other Shore Emperor himself admitted that it was by obtaining this skill that he opened up the Other Shore heaven, and its name originated from this skill. Whether it was the profound abyss yin-yang shield or the Other Shore heavenly god skill, both were worth over 1 billion years of lifespan, making this cycle's lifespan reincarnation quite profitable. Compared with these, Guan was more concerned about Tai Hao. When he first saw Tai Hao, he didn't think much of it, but after integrating the memories and looking back, he felt a bit dazed. Tai Hao looked too much like an Hao, but had more imposing mannerisms than an Hao, possessing an invincible air. During the days fighting side by side with Tai Hao, Gu Xian was often astounded by Tai Hao. It was because of Tai Hao that he fought desperately to become stronger. However, no matter how many years of lifespan he invested in his evolution, Tai Hao always remained unfathomable. Their first confrontation ended in a draw, but Guan felt that Tai Hao had deliberately held back, fearing that he would be discouraged. The final battle, though, forced Taihao to go all out, and it was undeniable that Taihao was exceedingly strong. Even though it was the Nine Heavens' true dragon Qi, Gu Xian's achievements were far inferior to Taihao's. Even as Guan looked back now, he felt that Taihao's strength at that time was unimaginable. Within the Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal Realm, it was hard to imagine anyone defeating him. This further confirmed to him that Taihao was indeed the Celestial Emperor's reincarnation body. Getting entangled with the Celestial Emperor was not a good thing, but the lifespan reincarnation could isolate cause and effect. If the Celestial Emperor could deduce his existence, he would have already found him, considering that Gu Xian and Taihao were in the past. Wait a minute. Could it be the Celestial Emperor's means that brought in Hao before him? No, if that was the case, the Celestial Emperor could have appeared long ago. Moreover, Hao had gone through many twists and turns before appearing to him. He was handed over to the Celestial Spirit Immortal Venerable by Emperor Zui, and then brought to the Celestial Spirit Great World by the Celestial Spirit Immortal Venerable. If the Celestial Emperor was behind the scheme, why go to such trouble? Guan felt that his ability to manipulate lifespan was very strong, and that it likely had greater causal power than the Celestial Emperor's. He did not dwell on this issue because no matter what, the events had already transpired, and his past within Hao could not be erased. Instead of agonizing over the past, it was better to think about the future. Gu Xian's life gave him many insights. So many great powers made the great Tao of all heavens seem much richer. Many beings no longer existed, but their existence proved the profoundness of the great Tao of all heavens. The Supreme Sect Master, who lectured in the endless Tao Mountain, made him feel that his cultivation level perhaps surpassed the Xianqi Primordial Immortal. In addition, during that battle in the Celestial Court, he saw the figure of a fierce demon who wreaked havoc in the Celestial Court. Although the demon's cultivation was not as high as his, it could be confirmed that the demon was definitely a Xianqi Primordial Immortal. 9 out of 10. The demon had just entered the Xianqi Primordial Immortal realm, believing itself invincible on its path, and thus fought its way to the Celestial Court. If it didn't have such cultivation, it wouldn't have been able to break into the Celestial Court. For a powerful figure like a Dao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal trying to forcefully break into the Celestial Court, those celestial Tao venerables, supreme immortals would definitely intervene, never giving the Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal the chance to break in. Of course, even if a Tao Extreme Daoyuo Immortal couldn't break in, escaping while besieged by immortal gods would not be difficult. That fierce demon could have escaped, but chose to fight to the death, likely bearing a deep blood vendetta, with killing intent heavier than Gu Xian's. The posture of standing alone against billions of immortal gods left a deep impression on Guan opened his eyes. The ocean in front of him churned incessantly. In the distance, he saw the silhouettes of cultivators exploring. No one could perceive him. S.E. of the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He didn't get up immediately. Instead, he raised his right hand, and strands of black qi emerged from his palm, followed by white qi. The black and white qi intertwined, seemingly following some kind of pattern. Profound Abyss Yin-Yang Shield. This divine skill, having been continuously evolved by Gu Xian, had reached an extremely profound level. Even compared to the divine skills Guan currently mastered, it was top tier. Only the absolute void, I could barely surpass it. Just mastering the other shore heavenly god skill and profound Abyss Yin-Yang Shield, Gu Xian could already conquer the all heavens and myriad realms. Originally, Guan planned to undergo more lifespan reincarnations to celebrate breaking the trillion-year lifespan mark, but just Gu Xian's life made him feel pained. He didn't want to undergo lifespan reincarnation again. He decided to rest for a few million years first. Guan stood up and walked towards the Taoist field of the beginningless. In one step, he arrived at the edge of the Taoist field of the beginningless. Following his usual habit, he admired the scenery along the way. The mountain was still the same mountain, but the flowers and plants on it were constantly changing. Some seemed no different from the past, but had long since undergone a cycle of new and old replacement. As he walked, Guin was still reminiscing about Gu Xian's life. Gu Xian was different from other reincarnation bodies. Though he performed heroic deeds, he had no humanity. He resembled an immortal, thinking differently from the mortal spirits. When faced with Yin Yuex's persuasion, he could decisively sever his emotions. He didn't fear hardship or loneliness, always determined to accomplish what he believed in. Compared to personal gain, he cared about his own path and the meaning of his existence. Seeking revenge against the immortal gods, aside from obsession, was also to find his own value. He was born from the profound abyss ancient tree, with no parents, and the tree itself had not become sentient. He was a creation of the heavenly Tao, not knowing his origin or his destiny. During the billions of years he was imprisoned in the heavenly prison, he kept pondering why he existed. These thoughts had now all been transmitted into Gu An's mind. What is the meaning of reincarnation? Guin also pondered this question. The great Tao could create new life. There was no need for souls to be reborn repeatedly. Master, a voice called out. Sin appeared out of thin air before Guin. He excitedly said, Master, I've created a divine skill. Please take a look and evaluate it. As he spoke, he raised his right hand. Small vines grew from his palm, quickly forming a tree, then branching and leafing out. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 751. The Immortal arrives. Born for the destiny. Looking at the small tree in Sin's hand, Guin could feel a formidable curse power contained within the tree, eerily similar to the malevolent force of the desperate celestial tomb. If one were to be ensnared by the tree's vines, their mana would dissipate. Even if one could manage to escape, they would be plagued by misfortune for the rest of their life. Guin chuckled softly. Not bad, but you must be careful of being backfired by this kind of power. Sin nodded, then began to speak excitedly, describing the inspiration and future plans for this divine skill. In Gu Xian's long life, he had done many things, but never took on a disciple. After merging with his memories, facing his disciple again, he felt a sense of novelty. As he regarded Sin, he suddenly understood the meaning of reincarnation. To the great Tao, reincarnation was of little help, but to those beings with regrets in their hearts, reincarnation was hope. The existence of the path of reincarnation made the world constructed by the great Tao not just one of birth and destruction. Having figured this out, Guin no longer dwelled on the matter. Compared to such questions, there were many other things worth pondering. What shall I do tomorrow? Should I listen to music or indulge in wine and pleasure? Never mind, it'll combine both. In the darkness, a figure appeared out of thin air, his entire body shining with the strong light of the heavenly Tao, clad in heavy silver armor and wrapped in a long golden scarf, looking extraordinarily divine. He lowered his eyes, his expression cold and indifferent, and within his eyes, specks of starlight appeared, seemingly containing two universes. Indeed, full of life, but alas, everything shall be reshaped. The happiness, pain, hatred, and hope you now possess will become meaningless. Yet seeing the presence of immortal gods in one's lifetime is fortunate enough, a life not lived in vain. The silver armor immortal god muttered to himself as he raised his right hand, and a golden scroll appeared in his hand, unfolding it with his left hand. In an instant, the scroll burst forth with brilliant golden light, dazzling like the sun, illuminating the darkness. Strands of golden energy gushed out, increasingly faster, countless in number, all flying toward the darkness below, forming a magnificent river of golden chi. At the same time, deep within the void of the 3,000 great worlds emerged innumerable golden chi, quickly growing larger, surging toward the heavens and the earth of various realms. Guin, standing side by side with Xiaolan, slightly raised his eyes, and, through the celestial spirit great world, he saw the conditions of the other great thousand worlds. I don't ask you to take him under wuxia, just point out his physique and tell me how to guide his cultivation. Her gaze held a hint of melancholy. She knew Gu and was deliberately waiting for her to speak first. She recalled those early days back in the Shao family, when she had vowed to strengthen the family relying solely on its members. Over millions of years, through countless tribulations, she had never turned to Guan for help. Now, breaking her promise for the sake of a junior left her feeling rather frustrated. But there was no other choice. Despite the Shao family's millennia of existence, the talents they had produced were insignificant compared to those of the Dao court. Now having a prodigy whose physique she couldn't discern, she didn't want to miss this opportunity. It might be the key for the Shao family to soar. She had been in seclusion for many years, watching over the Shao family. For the family to thrive, it relied on future generations. If they could produce someone like Emperor Tianhong, Zhao Rushan, or Yuan Luo, the Shao family would undoubtedly ascend, forging deep connections with the major sects of the time. This child's physique is the primordial chaos body. In all the realms, very few can match his innate talent. However, the primordial chaos body requires awakening. Currently, he has yet to fully manifest his potential. Guan nonchalantly remarked, gazing down at the square. His attention was with the 3,000 great worlds, his mind split in two. The other half was responding to Xiaolan. The prodigy of the Shao family did not interest him. Primordial chaos body? Xiaolan's eyes lit up in excitement. After millions of years, had the Shao family finally borne fruit? How can he awaken? Xiaolan hurriedly asked. Guan replied, he needs powerful mana to shatter his meridians, bones, and flesh. When he is on the verge of death, his primordial chaos body will absorb nature's spiritual energy, helping him regenerate his body. From then on, he will be unstoppable. Upon hearing this, Xiaolan frowned, her excitement dissipating. Such an awakening method seemed overly cruel. Guan looked at the celestial vault and said, his physique has indeed emerged due to destiny. The world is about to change again, and perhaps this heralds the replacement of the old and new eras. Hearing his words, Xiaolan felt even more conflicted. CTH novel_fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 752. The growth of wuxia after Gu, and pointed out the method for awakening the primordial chaos body to Xiaolan. He did not ask more about the situation of that Shao family genius. Nor did Xiaolan expect him to personally oversee it. It was enough to obtain this method. Afterwards, she no longer mentioned the matter, but instead took Gu and to continue touring the Shao family grounds. In the present day, the Shao family dominated a region, and there were considerable changes every 100 years. She knew Guan liked to wander, so she planned to show him around more. If Guan liked this place, he could come often in the future. After the two left, a young man in white clothes on the square opened his eyes and looked towards the grand palace ahead. Strange, was that feeling just an illusion? The young man muttered to himself, looking around before closing his eyes again and continuing his cultivation. As time passed, Guan, besides the fixed monthly schedule of picking medicinal herbs, spent all his remaining time relaxing. He even transformed into Immortal to play in the human world. He had been a farmer, a scholar, fished along the coast, hunted in the deep mountains, and had even been a powerful court minister in the court, stirring up trouble. Each identity would come to its conclusion. He never maintained any cause and effect with anyone, nor did he reveal his identity as a cultivator. In this way, 800,000 years quickly passed since he inherited the memory of Gu Xian. Over the past 800,000 years, the struggle for the Son of Heaven had completely erupted, with those powerful great thousand worlds bearing the brunt, becoming battlefields. The celestial Tao destiny also began to spread, affecting more and more great worlds. The celestial spirit great world wasn't exempt from this turmoil either. More and more talents were emerging in the celestial spirit great world, some even possessing physiques not inferior to the primordial chaos body. The growth speed of talents could verify the foundation of a sect, and the clashes between talents also became excuses for the ambitious. The friction among the 9 sects was growing. There was no eternal peace, and for many strong individuals, peace was instead a restraint. They lay dormant, waiting for the opportunity to stir the winds and clouds of the world. This year, it was rare for Gu and to host the Chinese New Year at the Taoist field of the Beginningless, under Zizai's organization. The New Year was very lively. Some 4th-generation disciples were drinking with Guan for the first time and were very excited. At the spring banquet, Guan agreed that the 4th-generation disciples could start accepting disciples. The standard was the same as for the 4th-generation disciples. They could only accept 1 disciple. After all, he would not harm the people around him. Nervousness wouldn't affect anything. He was now thinking about one thing: when a breakthrough. Currently, he had a lifespan of 16 trillion years, a vast amount, but he felt it wasn't stable enough for a breakthrough. Of course, if he were to wait for a quadrillion years, he wouldn't be able to endure it. After hearing Gu An's words, and Xin felt she had overthought, beginning to speculate on what Master was thinking. Master wasn't a petty person. He either agreed or disagreed, never letting the disciples guess. Then, she toasted Guan with a glass of wine before bowing and taking her leave. In the torn dark void, figures of living beings were fighting everywhere. More than the stars, a heartbreaking sight. Explosions appeared continuously in all directions, with distortions in time and space, mysterious shadows traversing the darkness. Zhang Buku, clad in silver armor, was also fighting. He wielded a long spear, his momentum unstoppable. No one could block him, and his gaze was always fixed on a massive shadow in the distance. Molo Qilin. Zhang Buku didn't know the name of this demon, nor could he see its true form. Only the crimson eyes of the Molo Qilin, which filled him with dread. What a terrifying evil demon! Its momentum was even stronger than the celestial, calming god. He was filled with confusion, wondering how the Son of Heaven could drive such an evil demon to fight for him. Did the celestial court not intervene? Although he was a heavenly soldier with the status of an immortal god, he didn't even have the qualification to step into the celestial court. Sometimes thinking about it made him feel bitter. But after the bitterness came an even greater fighting spirit. He must ascend the heavenly ascension stairs. He must go to the celestial court. Zhang Buku's eyes grew determined as he cast aside his inner distractions and charged towards the Molo Qilin. The struggle for the Son of Heaven had begun. Their task was to seize this great thousand world. As pioneers, they could not retreat. The celestial court's destiny kept them immortal. Since they wouldn't die, even if the opponent was strong, he would fight fearlessly. Many heavenly soldiers had the same thought, all striving to slay the Molo Qilin. In the exceedingly distant void, atop the gigantic Molo Qilin's head, stood a man in black. He crossed his arms over his chest, his face coldly arrogant. He looked down at the heavenly soldiers charging toward him with contempt in his eyes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 753. The Crazy Immortal. The immortal gods of the celestial court are truly foolish and arrogant. The man in black muttered in a low voice. He raised his right hand and reached forward into the air as if it were a dragon's claw. With a wave, a vast expanse of black energy surged forward, sweeping relentlessly. Within the rolling black mist emerged countless figures clad in black armor, strikingly similar to the heavenly soldiers, but entirely black. As soon as this dark heavenly army emerged, their terrifying, murderous intent shook the entire battlefield, drawing innumerable creatures to turn their heads and look. On this void battlefield, apart from the heavenly soldiers and evil demons, there were more Taoists from the two great worlds, from all races, making it extremely chaotic. The battlefield was vast and impossible to judge with the naked eye. Yet even so, this dark heavenly army made all beings feel a sense of dread. All heavenly soldiers, follow me and kill. The loud shout of the celestial, calming god rang out. As soon as the words fell, tens of thousands of heavenly soldiers shouted in unison. The celestial doubt destiny within them fully erupted, wrapping around them like true sunfire, increasing their momentum dramatically. At this moment, at the edge of the void, Feng Xian and the 6 others who had sworn brotherhood with the blood-prison great saint were also fighting fiercely, and from afar, they were all shocked and alarmed. Brother, such a battlefield is not something we can meddle in. These people, and those heavenly soldiers, they are simply insane. Heavenly soldiers are immortal and naturally fearless. Those people are fighting desperately for immortal fate. If second brother were here, he would definitely also fight desperately. Feng Xian listened to his brother's words without a sound. They kept their distance from each other, seemingly fighting individually, but actually cooperating, full of tacit understanding. Feng Xian's heart was also restless, hesitating whether to retreat. Search * the Oval Fire at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He remembered that heavenly army who had previously captured them. If it hadn't been for the intervention of the supporting Tao Sword Venerable, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Although these heavenly soldiers were not a match for the supporting Tao Sword Venerable, their own strength was very formidable. But such a powerful heavenly army seemed like challengers on this void battlefield. Feng Xian gazed at the terrifying figure of the demonic Qilin, filled with dread and curiosity. Fight at the edge, do not approach, Feng Xian said, and the other 5 naturally had no objections. Unlike the warring factions, they had not decided to join any faction of the Son of Heaven. Moreover, the celestial court needs all living beings' worship to enhance destiny. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Never mind. Let's not talk about this anymore. I heard the quota for the 100,000 stars has been opened. Are you really going to try? The celestial destruction god nodded and said, I managed to transfer from under the god of destruction to under the divine venerable. I must now complete the transformation of my divine authority. The stars are good. It allows for peaceful cultivation and easier access to the great Tao. Profound mystery, being an immortal monarch, had yet to secure a specific immortal authority. However, he was not worried because his master, the radiant divine venerable, had already made arrangements for him. Now, apart from cultivation, he represented his master, walking through the heavenly realm, using his master's name to acquaint himself with various immortal gods. The two began discussing their upcoming travels. The immortal palace they were visiting also had significant backing, and even the celestial destruction god looked forward to this trip. He benefited from profound mystery's influence. This kind of visit wasn't just for conversation. They would either get to hear the Tao or receive the other's bounty. Not only did various immortal gods respect the radiant divine venerable, but they also had high hopes for profound mystery's future. Anyone who could pass the heavenly Taoist test and ascend had boundless potential. The test imposed by the heavenly Tao was a battle between mortal spirits and immortal gods, its difficulty nearly impossible to overcome. Despite the celestial court owning countless universes, those who could ascend like profound mystery were few and far between. Many relied on connections with immortal gods for selection to immortality. A day in heaven is a year on earth, and conflicts in the 3,000 great worlds were rapidly evolving. Another 10,000 years passed, and there was no pure land left in the 3,000 great worlds, filled everywhere with slaughter and war. This year, in the celestial spirit great world, sects were contending for supremacy externally, while evil demons invaded from outside. Even the celestial spirit god, guarding the world gate, experienced defeat. Disciples of Wuxia began to emerge, rescuing the suffering beings. In the imperial palace on the Taitsong continent, Guan was playing chess with Li Xiandao. The weather was cool, and a gentle breeze stroked their hair. At this moment, Li Xiandao frowned deeply, pondering. Guan casually waved a folding fan in one hand and held a teacup in the other, feeling utterly at ease. Even the 10 or so shooting stars streaking across the sky did not catch his attention. Li Xiandao took a deep breath and said, "I lost." He lifted his eyes to Guan, wanting to speak but hesitating. "You have something on your mind. Speak up, don't hold it in," Guan said with a smile. As long as he didn't deliberately avoid it, anyone's inner thoughts would directly reach his ears. However, some words still needed to be said by the other party. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 755, The Immortal Lectures Regarding Li Zuando's Ambition. Guan gave no comment. Every person has their own goals, and even the greatest people have their private thoughts. He himself is such a person. Li Xiandao has the right to choose his own life, as long as he does not bring calamity to the entire world. There are so many evil people in this world, and many who stir up warfare. Killing them all is impossible. After chatting with Li Xiandao for half a day, Guan wandered alone in the Taitsong dynasty, while Li Xiandao excitedly returned to the imperial study to start planning his military campaign. Unlike the chaos in various places, the Taitsong continent has always been peaceful, unaffected by the trends of the world. However, even in peaceful lands, there are people in suffering. If Guan encounters them, he does not hesitate to help. He has the ability to save the world, but he does not do so because of the laws of the Great Tao. Helping individuals is simply because he wishes to. Sometimes, when he sees the fate of some people change because of him, Guan feels a sense of joy. His figure disappeared into the vast crowd of the city, seemingly inconspicuous and insignificant to this world. In the void, countless sword shadows floated in all directions, forming a spectacular sword array. Each sword shadow was larger than stars, and within the array stood a disheveled red-clothed sword cultivator, holding a sword, surrounded by violent and chaotic sword chi. His gaze fixed on Leah outside the sword array. Though far apart, their eyes met, causing intense spatial fluctuations along the way. Leah, dressed in black, pointed his finger like a sword, his sword intent emanating naturally. In the dark void behind him, a dreadful sword shadow stood, formed by his sword intent. Such powerful sword intent. Clearly, your cultivation level is just beginning to enter the Taoist collection Freedom Immortal realm, but the strength of your sword intent grants you the ability to excel within your realm. The red-clothed sword cultivator spoke, his tone full of admiration, seemingly unfazed by the sword array before him. Li Ya's eyes were cold, staring at him, and asked, "For which realm do you come? Why have you come to the celestial spirit great world? Why have you sacrificed so many souls to your sword Tao?" The red-clothed sword cultivator laughed and said, "I come from the Qingyu great world, which you should not have heard of. As for why I have come, there are unavoidable reasons. I am severely injured, my sword intent suffering karma retribution, and I need numerous souls to heal. Leah frowned, surprised at the other's honesty. Despite the severe injuries, he still possesses such strength. Leah's heart was filled with hesitation, not fearing the red-clothed sword cultivator, but realizing that powerful cultivators like him from outer heaven are increasing. Some, like the red-clothed sword cultivator, use lives for healing, while others establish sects with hidden ambitions. Whether inside or outside heaven, the situation grows increasingly chaotic. Seeing your aptitude, I can forgive your offense. Serve as my sword slave, and I can show you higher realms. This great world will only become more chaotic, and one day, even the immortal gods guarding it will struggle to survive. The red-clothed sword cultivator looked at Leah, sneering as he spoke. At his words, Leah felt countless eyes in the dark observing him like cold snakes and scorpions, making him uncomfortable. Boom! A terrifying impact came from the dark depths, stirring the Tao spiritual chi along the way, causing Leah's black clothes to flutter, making him instinctively turn to look. CTH Novel Fire, NE*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He saw two figures exuding terrifying auras rapidly colliding in the distance, their movement techniques far surpassing his perception, making him heart-poundingly fearful. One of those auras should belong to the legendary celestial spirit god. The celestial Tao destiny and the celestial Tao light layer of the celestial spirit great world were completely alike, only more oppressive. Even the celestial god is entangled, Leah thought secretly, and at that moment, a fierce wind blew towards him, making him instinctively turn back. His pupils dilated as he saw the red-clothed sword cultivator penetrate his sword array, killing towards him. The red-clothed sword cultivator had a grim and horrifying smile, reaching out his right hand for Leah's head, like a vengeful ghost extending its hand. Under the bright sun, in a bustling and prosperous city, Guan leaned against a courtyard wall, holding a large chicken leg. As he chewed, he said indistinctly, Zhao Zilong marched through an army of millions, relying on a long spear and a white horse to charge in and out, staining the baby in his arms with blood. In front of him stood a dozen children, both boys and girls, the oldest no more than 13, the youngest just over 5, all nervously watching Guan, waiting for him to continue. Guan stopped, swallowing hard as if he choked, and gently patted his chest. Meat alone isn't enough. Who will sneak a jar of wine from home for me? Guan asked with a smile, causing the children to burst into an uproar. You already spent a lot of our money on this roast chicken, and now you want to drink? How can you be like that? The chicken isn't finished yet, and you want to drink? Liar. Big liar. Continue the story. How can you stop here? The children were anxious, some raising their small fists as if they wanted to hit Guan. The people playing in the street looked over curiously. Most found it odd that Guan, who dressed richly, would argue with a group of children. Mothers with children quickly moved away, fearing Guan was a bad person. Guan smiled even wider, his eyes glinting. What do you understand? If you bought the book Romance of the Three Kingdoms, it would cost more than a roast chicken. If you hired a storyteller of my caliber, it would cost even more, far beyond the price of a jar of wine or a chicken. You got a good deal. An older boy argued angrily. Stop lying. It's not an immortal book. It can't be that expensive. Hey, don't say. There's indeed a version of Romance of the Three Kingdoms about immortal cultivation. Do you know what cultivation technique Zhao Zilong practiced? Guan's words quickly dispelled the boy's anger, replaced with curiosity, as other children also showed curious expressions. Guan did not continue to speak, but started to devour the chicken leg rapidly, the children urging him. Bang! A figure fell from the sky, landing on a nearby street, raising rolling dust and a strong wind, scaring the children in front of Guan into screams. The people in the street began to flee, turning everything into chaos. As the dust settled, two figures appeared. It was the red-clothed sword cultivator and Leah. The red-clothed sword cultivator held Leah by the neck with one hand, raising him in the air, covered in blood and very miserable. Still refused to submit? I've been very restrained. Otherwise, this city would have turned to ashes. If you don't agree, he'll extract the souls of everyone in this city before your eyes to offer as sacrifices. The red-clothed sword cultivator sneered. Then his gaze swept around and quickly focused on Gu and the group of children gathered by the courtyard wall, making them stand out conspicuously. Leah faced away from Guan, unable to sense his presence, but noticed the red-clothed sword cultivator's gaze, glancing with his peripheral vision. His pupils shrank, and a strange smile appeared on his face. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 756. Unknown threat. Liu was delighted when he saw Guan, so a smile appeared on his face, but this delight was quickly replaced by embarrassment. Saw the novel Fire. NE*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Every time he met Guan, he bragged about how free he was outside. Previously, Li Xianyu had exposed his lies in front of Guan, saying he often got injured. It was hard for him to cope with that, and this time, he got caught red-handed by Guan. How could he not be embarrassed? The red-clothed sword cultivator noticed the change in Li Ya's expression. He squinted at Guan, who was surrounded by children, and sneered. You know this person? Li replied with difficulty. I advise you not to act recklessly, or else. Before he finished speaking, the red-clothed sword cultivator grabbed him and appeared out of nowhere, standing before the children, scaring them away with cries. The red-clothed sword cultivator scrutinized Gu and asked, Did you come specifically to rescue him? How could there be such a coincidence? He descended from the sky, chose a random city, and yet he encountered the captive's acquaintance. Guan looked at the red-clothed sword cultivator and smiled. I could be, or maybe not. If you put him down now, there might still be room to settle the conflict between you two. Oomph. The red-clothed sword cultivator snorted coldly and suddenly reached out towards Guan, moving as swiftly as lightning. Boom! A gust of wind arose out of nowhere, shaking everything on the street. The robes of the red-clothed sword cultivator and Leah fluttered violently. Their eyes widened with fear. Impossible! His hand was blocked by an invisible force, unable to touch Guan. What astonished him the most was that the aura he released should have been enough to obliterate everything within 1,000,000 miles. Yet apart from the strong wind, nothing was destroyed around him. In a split second, he realized the vast difference in power between him and his opponent. Even if he wasn't seriously injured, he wouldn't be a match for this person. Senior. The red-clothed sword cultivator hurriedly spoke, but before he could finish, Guan's eyes turned cold, and he turned to ash. Thud! Leah fell to the ground, half kneeling, and touched his throat, feeling the cold mana dissipating. He turned to Guan and couldn't help but ask, Did you come specifically to rescue me? You have successfully taken 31,782,281 years of lifespan from the Red Sword Ghost Demon, late stage of heaven-encompassing free immortal realm. Only 31 million years of lifespan. A bit too little. Guan replied, I have been in this city for 2 days, telling those children the story of the romance of the 3 kingdoms. I've almost finished half of it. Upon hearing this, Leah was horrified. More and more outer heaven visitors and immortal gods appeared, causing the future of the celestial spirit great world to change daily, all reflected in Guan's eyes. He saw countless outcomes in the future. Knowing all results, he could choose the destiny he was satisfied with. But for now, he didn't want to intervene. As long as the celestial court didn't invade the celestial spirit great world on a large scale, other situations were just minor skirmishes. In a good mood, Guan walked through the mountains, humming a tune while observing the changes in the destiny of heaven and earth. He saw many people's hardships. Even the Tai immortal monarch and the 72 immortals of Jindong would fall into dire situations. On the other side, among the continuous mountains on a hillside, the 72 immortals of Jindong were distributed, some meditating and cultivating, some comprehending the rules of heaven and earth, others deducing the future. The purple dragon star monarch looked towards the horizon, his brows furrowed slightly. A female immortal approached him curiously and asked, "Senior brother, what are you looking at? You've been frowning for quite a while." The purple dragon star monarch softly replied, "Something is watching the celestial spirit great world. Even I cannot fully deduce its cause." The female immortal said indifferently, "Now that the struggle for the son of heaven has begun, even though the 3,000 great worlds are inhabited by mortal spirits, there are always some Taoists. Perhaps someone is weighing whether to hide in this world." "No, it doesn't feel like a mortal spirit." The purple dragon star monarch shook his head. These words made the female immortal feel surprised. "Not a mortal spirit? You mean a son of heaven has targeted the celestial spirit great world?" the female immortal asked. The purple dragon star monarch replied, "It's not a son of heaven, and it's not even an immortal. I can't say for sure, but maybe something wants to take advantage of the struggle for the son of heaven to commit evil in the 3,000 great worlds." Upon hearing this, the female immortal's face turned serious. Although the celestial court seemed unshakable, there were many hidden enemies, not just within the range of the celestial Tao destiny, but also many terrible beings in the chaos watching the celestial court, waiting for an opportunity. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 757. Tao Extreme Lectures on the Tao Time continued to flow rapidly. In the ever-running river of time, new heroes kept emerging. Some met with death and defeat, while others continued to forge ahead meticulously. The chaotic world was a torment for the mortal spirits, yet for many cultivators, it was a rare opportunity. However, the opportunities they sought often hid an abyss representing death. Another 1,000,000 years passed. Gu-in, now 11,560,000 years old, was guiding a seventh-generation disciple in cultivation. Indeed, the seventh generation had emerged within the beginningless. Since disciples were now allowed to accept apprentices, Gu did not impose too strict restrictions on his grand disciples. His only requirement was to accept only one apprentice at a time, and only after that disciple had matured could they take on a second disciple. The beginningless did not engage in worldly disputes, but the grand world gates stood tall, symbolizing the pride of all disciples. Without Gu-An's orders, they adhered to strict apprenticeship selection. They only considered those who could potentially be the first among their peers. Duanli was very excited. He never expected that while training in the forest today, he would be chosen by ancestor Master Wuxia for guidance. He was so thrilled that he felt dizzy, and much of what Guan said was lost to him, as his mind felt muddled. Guan was quite helpless. This boy was too easily excited, responding without understanding many things. "If you don't settle down soon, I'm leaving," Guan said sternly, instantly jolting Duanli back to his senses. "What am I doing?" Duanli broke into a cold sweat and quickly said in a trembling voice, "Ancestor, I'm sorry, I'm just too excited. I didn't mean it." He was so anxious that he was about to cry. In several decades within the beginningless Taoist field, he had only seen Guan a few times. This was his first conversation with Guan, and it was for cultivation guidance. If he angered Guan, his master, grandmaster, and great-grandmaster wouldn't forgive him. "All right, they'll teach you a brand new cultivation technique. How about that?" Guan suddenly said. How could Duanli refuse? He quickly bowed to thank Guangu and allowed Duanli to kneel. He raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at Duanli's forehead. Just as Duanli looked up, his pupils suddenly dilated, and he fell into a daze. S. E. of the novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Guan retracted his hand, walked past him, and headed out of the dojo, thinking about picking some matured medicinal herbs today. After an hour, Duanli trembled and woke as if from a dream. He hurriedly stood up, looking around and calling out for the ancestor. "Why are you shouting? Do you think you can call for the ancestor so casually?" An impatient voice came, and Duanli saw a figure emerge from the depths of the forest. Upon seeing the person's face, Duanli quickly bowed respectfully. "Grandmaster LV," Duanli said respectfully, his body tense. LV Xian walked up to him, looking displeased. "Why were you calling out for the ancestor?" Today he had some free time and wandered into this forest. He had a vague impression of Duanli, remembering him as a seventh-generation disciple, given the number of disciples within the beginningless Taoist field. "Just now, the ancestor taught me a cultivation technique. I wanted to thank him," Duanli answered truthfully. There had never been any incidents of fellow disciples harming each other within the beginningless, so Duanli felt no need for caution and answered whatever his grandmaster asked. "Oh," LV Xian raised his eyebrows. He believed Duanli wouldn't lie, especially since this was the beginningless Taoist field. His master hadn't taken on new disciples for many years, let alone guided grand disciples in cultivation. Could there be something special about this boy? LV Xian scrutinized Duanli closely, making the latter very uneasy. Duanli wanted to escape, but he didn't dare offend LV Xian. LV Xian couldn't discern anything unusual about Duanli, so he casually asked, "What's the name of the cultivation technique the ancestor taught you?" His master had created many techniques, and different techniques could indicate how much his master valued this boy. "Destiny-defying divine skill," Duanli answered cautiously. "Destiny-defying divine skill." LV Xian was stunned, standing rooted to the spot. Wasn't this his father, LV Baishan's cultivation technique? His father had been dead for a long time. Usually, he wouldn't even think about his father. Growing up, knowing his body housed another soul, he harbored deep hatred for his father, wanting to personally kill him. But gradually, he came to understand. Because he was busy exploring the outside world, he missed his father's funeral. He seemed indifferent, but a thorn remained in his heart. Unexpectedly, his master still remembered his father. LV Xian recalled how long ago his father often discussed with him how to cultivate Gu and into the next sect leader. Those years were long gone. The specific memories were fading, and his father's face had become blurred. "Grandmaster LV, are you all right?" Duanli asked nervously, feeling anxious. Could this destiny-defying divine skill have some great significance? He believed the ancestor wouldn't harm him, but he feared the significant background of this skill might be beyond his capacity. LV Xian came to his senses, showing a complex smile. "Nothing. Cultivate well. Since you've got the true teachings from the master, your fortune is deep. Cherish it well. If you disgrace this technique, we'll be the first to deal with you." These words made Duanli's legs tremble, making LV Xian shake his head with a smile before turning to leave. He needed to reflect on the past, to avoid forgetting his origins. LV Xian suddenly understood why his master often daydreamed. Perhaps it was to recall the past, to always remember who he was. In the following days, the news of Duanli receiving teachings from Gu and spread throughout the dojo, arousing curiosity among all disciples. Even second-generation disciples summoned him to observe his talents and comprehension. Unfortunately, Duanli did not exhibit greater aptitude than other disciples. However, this did not disappoint the disciples. Instead, it heightened their anticipation. The master couldn't possibly mistake. Even if Duanli didn't seem exceptional, received by the master, he would certainly excel in the future. Thus, 10 years quickly passed. Since imparting the skill to Duanli, Guan had not sought him out again. This morning, he heard of a great power preaching at the endless Tao Mountain, which piqued his interest, and he decided to attend. The great power was a Tao extreme Daoyuo, Immortal, with profound Tao practice. Listening to the teachings would definitely be beneficial. However, Gu An's true self needed to pick medicinal herbs, so he sent a clone, suppressing its cultivation level to the heaven-opening Daluo Immortal realm. The clone moved at great speed, soon entering the endless Dao Mountains domain. In the dim sky, the majestic Dao mountain peaks loomed amidst the spiritual fog, mysterious and solemn. Guan flew towards an old acquaintance, Hongyazi, who had been very hospitable during their first meeting, introducing him to many fellow Taoists. Since Hongyazi was also here, it was natural to go see him. Approaching the Dao mountain of the great power preaching, Guan soon spotted Hongyazi. As before, he was chatting and laughing with several cultivators, enjoying the moment. Hongyazi was the first to notice Guan, exclaiming with joy, "Fellow Taoist Menglang, long time no see." If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Looking towards the celestial court, as expected, a large number of immortal gods were flying towards the palace of the pole star, obviously startled by this mysterious force. Since the celestial court was already paying attention, Guan did not need to worry too much. The celestial spirit Great World was located at the edge of the 3,000 great worlds, not within the range of the celestial Tao destiny. For this mysterious force to threaten the celestial spirit Great World, it would first have to break through the celestial court's layer of destiny. For the celestial court, destiny was its lifeblood, and it would certainly not let it have its way. Vaguely, Guan saw some unseen and untouchable threads of cause and effect within the deep red mist, connecting with the 3,000 great worlds of the heavenly Tao. With his cultivation level, it was difficult to perceive these threads of cause and effect without careful observation. It must be known that he primarily cultivated the way of cause and effect. No wonder I have always felt there would be changes in the struggle for the Son of Heaven. It turns out the changes come from outside the heavenly Tao, Guan thought silently. Although this crisis was not directed at him, he still believed it would be wise to break through as soon as possible. Once I reach a lifespan of 2 billion years, I will break through, Guan decided in his heart. Meanwhile, at Endless Dao Mountain, within the dojo, Jiang Rulai spoke, "The path of creation is the cornerstone of the 3,000 great Tao. Even the great Tao itself is a creation. I hope you can understand the profound mystery of creation and attain the Tao soon." After speaking, he stood up. Tens of thousands of listeners also stood up and saluted him. Jiang Rulai sought nothing from his lecturing, yet it was deserving of their bowing in respect. Jiang Rulai transformed into a rainbow light and disappeared into the dim cloud sea. Guan saw him flying in the direction of the celestial court. It seemed that although he had broken free from the celestial court, he still had connections with it. "Fellow Taoist Meng, where will you go next?" Hongyazi looked at Guan and asked with a smile. Guan heard his inner voice and answered, "I plan to continue my journey through the myriad realms of the great Tao." Hongyazi wanted to follow him and see his dojo, but he didn't want to return to the misty Immortal Court. However, he couldn't bring Hongyazi back to the celestial spirit Great World. "In that case, why don't we travel together?" Hongyazi suggested with a smile. Guan had no objections and nodded in agreement. After all, he was just an avatar. Where he went and what he did would not affect his true self harvesting medicinal herbs. Seeing Guan agree, Hongyazi was even happier. He grabbed Guan's wrist and asked, "Then let's go, fellow Taoist Meng. Where do you think we should go first? I want to take a look at the underworld." "Just as well. I have acquaintances in the 9 divine mansion of the underworld. The profound abyss ancient tree of the 9 divine mansion is about to bear fruit. Perhaps we can witness a spectacle." "Is that so? That's perfect. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.